time. Good evening, morning, afternoon, whatever applies to you, and welcome back to yet another EuroLeague. We are here for a world/year roundup thing-ish. We'll see where it goes, I guess. But as always, I am joined on this magical journey by Mr. Keire, by Nymaera, and returning interviewer extraordinaire, the Louis Theroux of our scene, Mr.
That's so nice.
Don Jake. I know, right?
That's so much nicer than Nardwar. I don't really, because Nardwar, for all of his affable qualities, is really just a kind of quite neurodivergent and apparently quite smelly man. That's what people say about him.
Jesus.
Apparently, he smells really bad.
What do they say about you?
hopefully not that. Hopefully I smell all right.
That's quite upsetting.
But I actually wouldn't want that to be the main focus of my feedback, Nymaera. Hopefully they say that my questions are good.
Oh, we'll get to that when you got a break, when we actually get the feedback, yeah?
Yeah, okay, sure.
But we actually have a bone to pick with Jake, because, you hit us with double jeopardy, because obviously while Jake was taking a break, so was actually Kang. So where was, the premium esports interviewing? Tried to keep a straight face, couldn't. It is what it is, guys. It is what it is. Anyway, Jake's back. So, one half of the pie, fully restored, ready to be eaten, as it were. Anyway...
are you trying to get me into trouble? Are you trying to get me? Trying to set me up in some sort of proxy war with actually, Kang, I've got no problem with you, please.
I've not said anything.
The nation of Korea. I'm in alliance with you. There's no. I apologise for all of Richard. I don't stand by Richard's Ross comments.
What do you mean? No subtext. I am the man of my words and my specific words. No sense of irony or cynicism or anything like that. So hopefully Ashley comes back as well. Am I right? Anyway, before we do dive in to all things Worlds / year review, we do have to tackle my patented Would You Rather. And, it is a doozy, as always, of course. Haven't had a bad one. 100% hit rate. Bar whenever Keire did one. That was probably rubbish. I can't remember. But, I'm sure...
Mine was actually dead. Mine was actually deadly, by the way. It was unreal.
I'll be honest, Keire, as you know, I have no memory, so I'm just, being...
Yeah, that no memory factor has been tilting me recently. We'll not get into it, though. We'll not get into it.
You'll notice that it just pops up more and more whenever it's convenient as well as time goes by. Yeah. So, it is what it is. Anyway, speaking of... actually, I have to remember what did I... never mind.
Would you rather?
That was a different one. That was a different Would You Rather. That'll be relevant on another day. Anyway, Would you rather... Start with you, Jake, as our... honoured guest here. Would you rather have everyone that interacts with you like you, or have no one be able to ever lie to you? So everyone you ever interact with likes you. So no false liking of any sort. You can't be manipulated in that sense. Like if someone is being positive towards you, it is completely authentic. They're not going to walk away and be like, "Fuck that."
Am I narcissistic, or there's no downside to everyone liking you?
I don't know.
I mean, I think
I feel like I'm lacking a human quality here.
No.
There could be an argument to say that actually there is a certain authenticity to kind of working to have someone like you, or to have that, or rather have an insecurity that someone only likes you because they're forced to like you.
True.
This is where you get me. My dad has said he's proud of me maybe 5 times in my life. So just immediately I have this inescapable, unfillable hole within me to wait, pause on that one. But
wait,
I have this on.
Your dad actually said it, Jake. There was one.
Listen, Keire, it's not a competition, mate.
It's a competition. I was like,
your dad said he liked you. Luxury. I had to go to school.
I don't think I've ever actually heard the phrase, unless it's used unironically. Someone went, "I'm really proud of you." You know what I mean?
I don't think he's saying the literal words.
Yeah.
I think he's saying the implied proudness.
No, it's okay. He's just making a sardonic kind of aphorism about my tragic childhood. It's fine. I don't care. Whatever. We're only 5 minutes into the show, right, guys? We're on track at the moment.
Don't worry. 90% of the audience skips this bit. You're safe.
True. Actually.
Lovely stuff.
Jake, you'll love the fact that for weeks and weeks and weeks I was just using sardonic incorrectly on every single podcast, and so some guy absolutely lost it on Discord and started messaging me.
How are you using it incorrectly? I feel like maybe I'm using it incorrectly.
I was like, just using it all the time.
But
and
no,
just
have you
man.
not, like the Keire superpower, by the way? I'm only half joking. Kira's superpower is sometimes he just uses words that start with the same letter as the words that would actually be appropriate,
Yeah.
and slides it in. But it actually, you always understand what he means, even if he's chatting absolute nonsense. So
No, but that's actually the thing. Like me and Keire are similar. This is why me and Keire get on so well. Like we're both the same guys. Like we're just pretending to be a lot smarter than we are, and like as long as like like if people like if you get what I'm saying, it's like a lingua franca. You know, it's like a language in common. Like if you kind of just the vibe it gives off what I say. If you can understand it, then who cares if it's accurate? And that sums up our kind of analysis, our career as analysts. If it sounds okay, it must be true.
Exactly.
But
But
to answer your question,
Right, what was the
yes.
question again? Yeah.
yeah,
To answer your question, I don't see any downside to being liked by everyone. I'm somewhat narcissistic and also have a gaping hole within my soul and a need for validation. So yeah.
fair enough. What are you thinking, Nymaera? Either everyone likes you, or no one can lie to you.
I think it's healthy to have. This is going to be. I think it checks your character if people don't like you. I think it allows you to kind of see some character flaws within yourself. I actually think it's not bad to have some people dislike you. In fact, actually, if everyone likes someone, then you're just. I guess it depends on the kind of people that you're surrounded by, but eventually you could worm yourself into like a yes man situation where people lie to you because they like you. Yeah, I think I would get quite insecure actually that people would own. If we're gonna do the personal deep dive, I get a lot of kind of imposter syndrome about a lot of different things. If I felt like people were forced to like me through this, I think that would actually end up bringing me down in the long run. So I think I would take the have no one lie to you, and then looking in the positives and negatives of that scenario. I think that there are white lies at points which are quite helpful, and not having them in life potentially has some hurt. But the amount of shit you could pull if someone couldn't lie to you would be kind of mad. Of course, people could still lie by omission, presumably, because they're not, they're not telling untruths. But I mean, it would make a lot of aspects in life quite interesting, having people being unable to lie to you. Imagine if you ever got your hands on a politician, like
Well, yeah,
that would go pretty well. Actually,
if you're an interviewer like Jake and you wanted to pivot into worlds beyond esports, yeah, you could get some pretty insane quotables, I would imagine, or non-answers. I guess that's the only issue, isn't it? Though, like, they just wouldn't answer you. Like they just wouldn't respond to you, I guess, most of the time. But sometimes silence is very telling. I do think like option one is kind of, I see it as almost like a proxy for like there's no good without the bad. It is kind of like if everyone likes you, then you're kind of saturated in like, yeah, I think a narcissistic person you become even more narcissistic.
True, actually.
And you wouldn't appreciate those moments of the proverbial, hug and telling you that everything's okay kind of thing if a bunch of people did actually dislike you. So yeah, the lack of balance there I think would be a bit.
But that's the conceit of the monkey's. Was it the fold finger or what? That's Elden Ring, isn't it? What's the monkey's paw or whatever?
Yeah, the monkey paw.
Like an impressionable idiot like me can find themselves. I've taken the monkey's paw. Like now you're explaining it to me now. It's a bad idea, and I'm thinking I shouldn't have taken the monkey's paw.
But if I were a genie, or indeed a giver of said monkey's paw, I would be an ethical giver of said monkey's paw. So you'd hear all, the pros and cons before. In fact, I'll bring Nymaera and friends along to give the deep dive before you get to make that choice. So, you'd be in safe hands, or hand, dare I say.
And either way, just never pick Stalingrad.
Well, yeah, true. Keire, what are you thinking?
So, I remember when I was like 16, I was actually one of the earliest. Like,
is this your emotional deep dive? Go on.
That's 20 years ago.
So we're all doing it, right? Okay, when I was at 16, my first actual thing that I was extremely emotionally mature about was
I can just hear everyone going, skip, by the way, skip.
Everyone was always going about, right, with the saying, I don't care what anyone thinks about me. That was like the catchphrase. Like, something embarrassing happened to you in school, you'd have like a Facebook post like that high, and it'd be like, I just don't care about what anyone thinks about me or anything like that, right? And I always
the ultimate cope, by the way. Like, I don't even care.
When I was like 16, I remember I was always saying to people, could be like, or like if someone were talking about me in the third person, like, Keire just doesn't care what anyone thinks about her. And I'd be like, that's just completely wrong. Like, I care like a lot. I care a lot about people like think about me. And then over the past like 10 years, that like social trait has like degraded like so much to like a point of like it's basically just like completely gone. I'm quite like gregarious. Like I actually get along with most people. One thing that's really funny is I'm actually one of those people that's way less personable, like over like the internet and like in written like text and stuff. I don't know why. I come off like really bluntly and really like basically just rude over like the internet and stuff like that. But I'm actually like in person. I'm like
You
quite
text like
polite,
you text like my granddad. When I text you, I get that vibe. I've actually thought that before. Like I've had that thought. It's interesting to hear you say it.
Yeah.
But then like when we met in Paris, I was like, oh,
Yeah,
he's like-
he texts in Scottish the same as he speaks. It's this language barrier.
I think a lot of people have like a tendency to go towards like way more blunt, apart from anything else, because you have to go through the fucking effort of like typing it out, don't you? Like I actually hate. I have a love-hate relationship with like arguing people on the internet. Like intrinsically, I love it, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, do I have to actually like unload all the fucking qualifiers and caveats on every single point I make so this person understands it's like a nuanced argument? And I'm not going to. And then the first reply you get is someone who's just ignored all possible nuanced caveats and qualifiers. You're like, for fuck's sake, now I have to go back and do it again. So I think it's like almost like a British thing as well. I think like we're just very blunt, like generally speaking, especially when it comes to text. I think you kind of need to, break the walls down somewhat with a lot of people.
I think we got to. We approach arguing with strangers on the internet in different ways. I think you treat it more like a debate club. For me, it's like theater. Like, I just like whenever I talk, I love arguing with people on Twitter and stuff like this. But it's just like for me, I'm just gonna write a novel at this person. It's just like they're just placed in this impossible position where it's like if they take me too seriously, like congratulations, like you just got into an argument with like gay Shakespeare, like there's no winning there for you. Or like if you don't take me seriously, it's like I won as well. Like I put people in like completely like completely like ineffable wars of attrition. Like do you like if you have to either like treat me like I'm a real person and then suddenly like you look like the crackhead who like is seeing ghosts, or like you don't take it seriously and then you retreat and you kind of give up,
I mean, I think I have like the LS / like pre 2022, let's say, Richard Lewis disease, where it's like I have to win. It's like either I realize that I could be wrong in like the very early on, in which case I just abandon like the conversation entirely, or if I'm like, no, I'm winning. So the game can't end because I'm winning. So I will just like pursue it until the end of the earth. And then like once I've said everything I have to say, if the person still hasn't like got it or whatever, I'll just like, you're a moron. And then I can leave knowing that I've, imparted all my dogma onto them at the very least before, pressing the ejector seat button.
I guess
I find like when it comes to the online argument kind of thing, I kind of take it with the kill them with kindness kind of arguments, I suppose, where if I see someone just being like completely out of left field, let's be honest, I've had a lot of takes over the years which have gotten people rattled. For instance, like I made a post about my Team of Worlds, which I had Viper over Gamer, for instance.
Nymaera, this is a perfect example because I saw you reply to that guy with kindness and I was like, he has not dunked on this motherfucker nearly enough. So I just swooped in and basically like took a big dump on his face and I was like, there we go.
Yeah.
That was like a relief for me.
And I was doing this in good faith. Like I'm always happy to argue in good faith or like just talk in good faith with someone, right? But what I've had people tell myself to like off myself in the last couple of days because of a couple of takes I've had. I'm like, okay, are you okay? This is probably not something you should be doing online. Would you like to go offline and think about the way you communicate?
Wonder whose fan base that was from.
No. So that was actually not related to that. That was not related to that. That was related. Okay. No, that was actually me talking about.
Maybe you do need that. Everyone needs to like you, thing, Nymaera. It sounds like you're pissing off a lot of different groups. I mean, what's going on?
Yeah, but again, that kind of keeps me in check sometimes because it keeps me in check sometimes. So I'm not too bothered about that.
Good tactic for that is like when people tell you like kill yourself on Twitter, like you should just what I do is I'm gonna start revealing like just insane things about myself. I DM them and I'm like, dude, this could actually happen. Like I might actually do this. Like, are you sure you wanna? I'm just like I'm vulnerable as fuck, dude. Like just to let you know who you're saying this to. Like
has
this
that
could
ever
go to a bad place.
Has that ever like actually resulted in a redaction though?
Yeah, like
okay,
dude,
fair enough.
like 90% of the people I DM are like that. They go like, yeah, you're right. Like, what am I doing?
No, actually, legit. I've just something else. Was like, mate, I've had like a really hard week. I've spent like X amount of time doing this. I'm sorry it didn't land for you. And they're like, oh wow, I didn't expect you to respond to that. Fair play.
It's because like
Yeah.
the 21st century response generally is just like, yeah, fuck yourself, and then it's like, oh fuck, the inanimate person behind the screen actually like has a soul. Fuck. So yeah.
Well, the good thing is as well is if you get into a dialogue loop with them where it's like you say that and then they like have a human moment where they're like, yeah, honestly, like I relate, like I went through this, and then you switch it back on them and like I don't care, moron, like, and then it's just like that's even better because it's just like then the cycle just continues, like the cycle of hatred just continues.
Who can say?
That's what I'm saying. I'm just gonna. This is a tell-all interview. Like this is my like who's the woman who interviewed? I don't want to say Prince Andrew because that was under a bad context. But like this is like my tell-all. I'm gonna start revealing things about myself on there.
But yeah, anyway, for me, it's like I can see it's like a sport, I guess, which is maybe the wrong lens to view it through. But you know, whatever, it is what it is.
But we differ in that regard, Richard, because you're saying that you need to win by any means. I think I'm just like I'm a better like military man than you, because it's like I understand that like victory takes different forms. You know, like you might lose
for the strategic victory, not the tactical victory.
No, but like a Pyrrhic victory is still a victory. Do you know what I mean? It's like you might like
in
lose.
a strategic sense, it's not always.
No, but I'm like, you have to approach these things like Napoleonically, like in the great tapestry of shit posting.
Who famously, won his last battle, of course.
Dude, don't disrespect. That's the greatest commander of all time. I'm not hearing any Napoleon slander. I'll turn this podcast into a Napoleon podcast right now. I don't care, dude. Like, I fuck with Napoleon heavy. I read, Stanley Kubrick made a diary of every day of Napoleon's life, and I've read it.
God.
Anyway, sorry. Go on. Listen, victory takes on different forms. You have to take some L's sometimes, but you win the battle. You know, there are abstract victories as well.
I will agree that getting a whole different bunch of people to have like sort of a inward-looking moment about it's not a good idea to tell people to kill themselves on the internet is probably more of a net positive than me going ka-ching, another fucking internet 13-year-old loser down. Like, yeah, you know what? I think you're probably right on that one, Jake. But
when you say it like that, Rich, it's fucking sounds sad, man.
I mean, it is what it is. I'll just say it's worth that moment of catharsis. So
it's like if somebody was like, if they like, so what was like the highlight of your week? It was like, well, this person with 3 followers and they're all bots, and he has an anime profile picture, right? I was able to correct him on who was on FPX when they won Worlds, and it felt so good.
Oh, but you know what it is? It's not that.
But how does your gran feel about that? Like, not spoke to her this week. I'm not told. I'm not told.
But the thing is, right?
I'm not told her about my big win.
One thing that I differ from, let's say, pre-2022 Richard Lewis on is he would literally respond to everyone on everything and just be like, "Fuck you, fucking idiot," whatever. Whereas like, the people I respond to, I don't like, because loads of people, especially like Spanish MCOY fans stuff, they'll just write like generic shit or whatever. I ignore like 99% of it anyway. The ones I respond to are ones where someone writes something stupid, but they write something stupid that I know that actually a whole chunk of people genuinely believe. So I'm like, that is an argument worth dismantling. Whereas some random guy being like, "You're a fucking loser," I'm like, well, sure, whatever, dude. Like, I'm not going to reply to that person. I'm just going to ignore them. So it's more, dispelling like dumb shit that I actually think has some traction as well.
Spells now.
Indeed. Anyway, let's move on to Worlds, of course, as that is what we're here to discuss. After all, only 20 minutes into the podcast. Don't even worry about it. Most of you didn't even watch this section. So welcome, timestamp enjoyers, to the actual podcast. Obviously, the finals just took place. Bit of a weird one in the sense that we got what we wanted on one hand, that it was 5 games, but I don't know, like, this was kind of a underwhelming, even though the team that won came back from 2-1 down, I guess. It's like, well, that happens like 50% of the time anyway, and it's like, I don't know, these last 2 games are a bit anticlimactic. Yeah. Like, it wasn't some fucking world-beating, pun intended, world finals. It was just like a whatever world finals, I felt, at least. But what were your guys' opinions? Don't let me poison your takes. Nymaera, what did you actually think of this world finals? Did it go as you expected? Were you happy with the result? Unhappy with the result? Underwhelmed? Overwhelmed? I mean,
the score. I think the score. I thought it'd maybe be a T1 3-0. I think that's what I said last time. But realistically, I think it came down to what I thought it would, which was Katie with a better strategic team, T1 with a better clutch team in the team fights particularly. And I think largely that's how it played out. Gross oversimplifications, a bunch of stuff which went on, of course. The stuff which I was surprised by was how damn good Cuz and BDD were, even when things got really hot as well. I suppose maybe game 5 for Cuz was a bit more worse from him, but I thought he was excellent. But yeah, I mean, I guess in terms of how it kind of racked up towards expectations and what I wanted from it, it was a Telecom War World Finals. I think that writes itself in terms of how crazy a storyline it is. With that in mind, I'm a little sad with how bad Game 4 and 5 were from Katie to kind of not really just champion the achievement so much. Because I felt like particularly Perfect and Peter had very bad Game 4 to 5, despite having actually a very good rest of the series, I think, actually, from both of them. But, it still was. Game 5, incredible amount of stories on it, too. Actually, when I was co-streaming it, I had, like, Monty Doa, Wolf, and a bunch of other people come on stream to talk about the history of the Telecom War, too. So they had all their own different perspectives from both StarCraft and then the early days of League going later
so
as
cool.
well. Honestly, but by the way, that was one of my favorite things I've ever done, by the way, because,
I can imagine. That's so cool, man.
Because, I at this point, I grew up listening to these guys do esports. And... so I mean, I had Quickshot on as well. And by the way, I did okay all of this with right before I did. I asked it in advance whether it was okay to have Monty and Quickshot and a couple of other people, which I didn't know if there'd be like red tape there or not. I was told there'd be no issues, and there weren't, and it was really cool. Just for those who are wondering there.
Oh,
but
yeah,
getting
shit.
folks
I
like them on as well.
completely forgot because obviously co-streaming rights. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had the co-streaming rights. So I was, so it was technically an official co-stream and stuff. But
I'm actually before you go. I'm actually a little bit surprised. Like you actually checked in with someone at Riot about that.
I checked in with the person. I checked in with the person who I got my co-streaming rights through. I checked in with that, and I got the response. So I was happy to go forwards with it. I didn't get any backlash after I did that either. So I assume that was completely fine. No, at the end of the day, I'm not there to cause problems.
From the LEC.
No. Like at the end of the day, it's my thoughts was, look, I know these guys. I think it would make for great content. Is this okay with you? And they were okay with it. It was fine. So as far as I'm aware, like.
Yeah, no problem, Alex. No problem. Yeah, no, let's get him off the list. Yeah, fuck this guy.
Shut up.
Yeah, it's not now you need to worry about, mate. It's the next time they do the selection, mate.
Okay. Well, if you see a post from me looking for work or whatever in a month or two, but yeah, no, it was really cool. Kind of me getting
made
to
that into a short,
to...
by the way. Thank you.
That's the meta. That's the meta of content. But yeah, getting to talk to some of the people that had lived much more closely alongside the Telecom War history, all the way back from the 2013 finals, the StarCraft finals before that too, and a bunch of stuff with that was really, really cool because there's a whole lineage leading up to this finals. And the fact that it was 5 games, the fact that we did get to see some very cool plays from both teams across it was really, really exciting. And yeah, being able to, for me to be able to do that alongside some people which I very much respect, idolize even. I mean, I don't know if I'd be a caster without Monty and Doa, because that was, a lot of the folks which I listened to. Quickshot as well came on to, you mentioned him before. So for me, this was a very good World Finals experience for me personally. I'm actually going to have to take a little while to cool down from the event in terms of, the Hypergun, the watch party, XYZ, and actually think about it on a more kind of I guess baseline level. How does it stack up compared to, because you always need to divorce kind of the energy of the moment away from the event to a certain level to view it more objectively.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the obvious standout moment, gameplay aside, was seeing BDD at the end. Man, I was like, damn, that's so sad. And in a weird way, even though one of the big overarching narratives of pro esports in general in the last 4, 5, however many years at this point is fuck Chovy, always near the finish line, and then it just never quite happens for him, whatever. I actually felt worse this time around for BDD than I'd ever felt for Chovy, just because BDD was so good throughout the tournament, while basically everyone other than Cuz, it's not obviously I know that Pete had the really good series against Gen.G, and they all had their moments, right? But you did kind of feel at the end when he stood there, tears in his eyes, he was close in theory in terms of scoreline or whatever, but you felt your team just isn't quite up to it, it actually kind of felt even in the 3-2 you kind of didn't stand a chance, if that makes sense, kind of weirdly. Again, I know it's 3-2,
well,
but
I think technically, man. If they hadn't thrown the game 1, Cuz engaged around that dragon fight where he just slammed himself into a poppy up with his Wukong. I think it could have arguably been a 3-0. And then, I think game 4 and 5, I think that Cuz and BDD still actually had a pretty damn good couple of games.
I guess it's more, it's more like it viscerally felt like that after watching game 4 and 5, where it's like, even if it's
Yeah,
not
no, I get
true that they can't, yeah, his team sort of collapsed around him a little bit. But I mean, Jake, what was your like experience of finals? Were you as high? By the way, it's something that I wondered about as well, because of like how the tournament went up to this point, going into it. Were you like really hyped for this, or did it feel like kind of?
No, I think the time zone makes it really difficult to follow. My sleep has been really badly recently, so it's just like a thing where like I think like I could possibly have enjoyed it if it's like a thing where like, oh, you wake up 7 a.m. Maybe it's like how you
I was
start your
waking up
morning.
at like 5, 6 a.m. for playoffs because it's
It's just like, bro,
really
like, I was going to bed at like 4 a.m. So it's just like, oh, like if I want to watch it, I stay up, which I was doing. And it's just like I didn't know, like that's my fault. Like I'm not saying that's Riot's fault. Like I'm not saying like Riot should be sending me like fucking sleeping medication or something. Like, but no, I didn't really feel hyped to it. It felt very tight. Like the event, very quick turnover. I really hate Swiss. Like I think I really hate anything in this world where it's like there's like we're just leaving conducive factors up to chance. I think Swiss format over the last 3 years has just been like a thing of like it could spawn the best tournament of all time, but it also could like be a bad tournament. I think like the variance in like whether it ends up being good or not is just like bad. Like you just end up seeing shit where it's like
Okay, I will say the one thing about Swiss which I do like is actually the drama of the draw is actually an entertainment factor in itself. If you're purely looking for that, the draws are actually very entertaining to watch. That's one thing which I'll give it.
Yeah, I liked that in the first year I watched it, and then I watched in the second year, I watched FlyQuest beat GAM, PSG, and then draw Team Liquid to go to a quarterfinals.
Oh yeah.
And everyone has just like forgotten about that because they went 5 games against Gen G. But like if they got 3-0 by Gen G, that would genuinely be like one of them, like that's up there with like some of humanity's like biggest crimes of all time, like in terms of like karmic retribution. Like I honestly believe if they didn't go 5 games against Gen G, then like everyone on that roster would be like cursed to like soul-bound servitude to like a dark spirit for like the rest of time, just because of like how cheated that run was. It was like insane. I really don't like Swiss. I kind of disagree with what you were saying about the players like and the performance. And I felt like KT should have blitzed the series 3-0, but once you get to game 4 and 5, it's just like you're so experience gapped. And I think there's something I was talking to Inspired just before this. I was just interviewed Inspired. He was talking about like Faker's best quality that he has over everyone else is how unshaken he is by mistakes, and like how uninterrupted. Keire disagrees with that. We can go back and forth on that if you want. But his general what he was saying is Faker's rhythm is relatively uninterrupted over the course of a series, and I think that's a quality that's probably true for a lot of them as well. Whereas in direct contrast, like you could just kind of see it for some of the kind of, I look at that Peter like when he like walked into the bullet time, I just like it's such like when you see stuff like that, it's like you feel bad for memeing on it for him because it's just like it's so uncharacteristic. Not to claim that I've watched.
No, it's characteristic. It's characteristic. Yeah, I'm about to come on to this point, but continue.
Yeah, so I don't know. I just felt like they got kind of experience gapped at 4 to 5, and it's just like it's a high pressure environment. But I think all of them like really contributed. Like for me, it's like one of those things where it's like if KT won for me, it would have been like that 2011 Mavericks run where it's like everyone said like obviously Dirk Nowitzki like completely carried them to the finals, but it's like you had players that like exceeded their means to contribute valid contribution to the run. I think Diokdam stepped up against when they played against Gen G, played really well.
Yeah.
And just like perfect in the Swiss stage was like really fucking insane.
And I think he was actually MVP of quarterfinals as well.
Yeah, I think he was like the best top laner up until quarters probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think in the Swiss stage is fucking amazing. And then like Cuz BDD, like I think probably the best mid jungle duo of the tournament, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I think that's controversial to say. So it's just like one of those things where it's like I don't know. In some ways I liked KT's run, but then it was a thing where when KT beat Gen G, I was really upset. That really upset me because it's like I looked at it and I was like, perfect, Peter. This is like Horrid Henry, you know, like who are they going up against next? Moody Margaret, you know, potentially some other people like that, and that really like you have to understand with me, it's less about analysis, it's more about just like things being right in the world spiritually. So I felt that a duo called Perfect Peter from Horrid Henry it's not fair when they send you to your room, so to speak.
Yeah, Keire, what were your thoughts overall?
So do you want to hear like okay? So I've got loads of them. So I'll just pick on some stuff. Jake was talking about like, oh, that's like Faker's like best quality. It's maybe just like a hyperbole thing. I think quite clearly Faker's best property is just that he lets you play pick comp. He's the best pick comp player. Like, oh, he's the best player of all time. But he's specifically the fact that he allows you to play pick comps, as in like pick situations. Because that is such an effective way to put other people under like pressure, and not so much about him, but like all of Faker's teams have been so good at playing vision denial from all the way from 2013 to the very very end, and they're also extremely good because of their like they tend to be mechanically proficient players at like team fighting, and they tend to have like good team play. Macro, like general macro, has actually been a somewhat weakness, like. Full map play, like gold requirement like macro, has been somewhat of a weakness of the legacy of all the T1 teams. It's not really ever been like a focus of theirs. But they are so good at taking like little mistakes and turning them into massive mistakes and putting you like under like pressure in a situation. That's why they've got like the best Baron turning burns, but they never had the best Baron like in 2016, the best Baron dance team in terms of macro was Samsung. But T1 were the best.
Can I just pause to say, every time I hear Keire speak like this, I'm just like, you are like the esports Diogenes, because it's like you look at you and you're just like, what does this fucking absolute Scottish alcoholic moron know anything about League? And I'm listening to him, it's like, wow, this is like genius. I don't know if it sounds like it's true. It's one of those things where I don't have the what's the word that LS uses? I don't have the ability to infer whether what you're saying is completely accurate. It fucking sounds great though. You're a fucking genius, dude.
That's such a great complisalt there, Jay. Wow, this fucking idiot with alcohol really good at this.
That's the whole Diogenes thing though, isn't it? He's just wanking in fucking barrels all day, and then he's just like actually,
and that's what Keire does here.
Secretly the smartest
in this argument. That's what Keire.
By the way, this
secretly
is like,
the smartest guy.
As of 2025, this is like every fucking 16-year-old edgelord listening to Daily Wire being like, you know what, these guys are onto something. Actually, these guys are fucking geniuses.
Hey, don't be mean with that, because I'm not a 16-year-old listening to Daily Wire. I thought what he said was really profound, and I'm actually intellectually mature enough to somewhat connect with the ideas. So I resent that.
I agree, mate. Immigrants are bad for the economy. Like, I think we're all on the same.
Where are we going now? Where are we going now? This is carry on, Keire.
Yeah, carry on, Keire. Yes.
So, you know, I mean, just to pick on some of the talking points, so that would say about like T1. You know, Faker is so good at letting them play these like styles of like thing. That's why his like Ari, LeBlanc, you know, I mean, his Azir. I don't think his Azir. He's iconic on Azir. I don't think he is a better Azir than Chove. Okay, but I think he is better at using Azir or Wall to change games than Chove is. If you understand, like, as in, like, the big impact plays of Azir, I think Faker is better at using that. I think Chovy is better at everything else designed around, like, Azir, like soldier placement, laning, farm accumulation, you know what I mean? These,
Chovy
like,
did have that, I guess more last, in summer, Chovy's Azir was unreal,
but what I'm trying, my point of providence is like, yeah, you can pick, Chovy's such a good player, you will find good Azir ults, but like, Faker, bro, Faker has got so many good Azir ult plays, we have started to forget about them. Like, when I go back and research Faker's Azir, I forget the amount of like 4-mans that he hits and burns like 4 flashes. Like you actually forget how many iconic plays it is. Yeah. The next thing, and this is on to the player quality stuff. When I talked about, and I always bring this up because it's a beautiful talking point, when I was really frustrated with GDG when they lost to like T1 at Worlds, it's because you had like Kanave, Ruler, Missing, people who were at the peak, the zenith of their individual play, and then when they played against T1, they like collapsed, right? And at no point in the rest of the year had they ever really been this player, right? Peter and Dogdam, perfect, aren't good, okay, guys? Like, let's not pretend that they were like good players all year. So when they stand in an MF ult and just die, I'm like, know what? That can happen, because guess what? They've been doing that all year. Like, that is to be expected. When you watch it, you're frustrated. Like, oh, they threw the whole game. And it's like, yeah, that's why they went 0-6 in fucking LCK groups. Because they would have, like, 4k gold leads and then just die. Like, that is who they are. They've always been this team.
Did you
At one
not think
point,
the
I actually
Octam
think
had like a mini renaissance, like in
it
summer?
doesn't matter if you have a mini renaissance. At your core, you're still like
Oh
the same
god,
player,
it reminds
right?
me. It reminds me so much. I'm sorry, Nymaera. I just want to give this quick anecdote. It reminds me so much. Keire, you might remember this. This is the
Mate, I'm
most
loving this. You do whatever the fuck you want.
the most iconic AFTV clip for me. For those who don't know, Arsenal fan TV ritual, obviously, I think he's an
Oh,
Arsenal fan
yeah.
as well. Everyone talk. There's so many iconic AFTV clips. Arsenal fan TV, for those international viewers who don't know, it's basically a YouTube channel of fans of Arsenal fans, and they interview them afterwards, and it spawned like lots of quotables. There's a one that like no one talks about. It's this guy. He's talking about do you remember Mustafi? He used to be a centre back at Arsenal. I believe he's talking about Mustafi, and he goes. It's a game where like everyone hated Mustafi. He was terrible. Like red cards, signing off, sent off all the time. Shit performances, horrible. There was one game where like I remember for the first 50 minutes of the game, he played like of this world class, genuinely, and then like he like something happened and he got like sent off again. So it's like he played 50 minutes of world class and then like he played badly, and the guys talking about like they said like they're saying to him like he started playing really well and he got injured and he came to from the concussion, and they said to him you're Lionel Messi, and then he played like really well for like half an hour, and then he goes, and then he woke up and he remembered that he was struck down Mustafi. And I feel like from what Keire is saying, that's what happened to like the KT players. Like they told them all like you're Keane, you're Ruler, and you're Carrier, and then they thought it for a little bit, and then they suddenly in the finals they woke up and they're like, no, I'm not those players. I'm Perfect Peter and Dogdam.
And BDD's just sat there like, no, the serum's wearing off, guys. Fuck, it's
And the thing is like BDD's just that meme where he like wakes up. He's like, the thing is like BDD is like kind of everyone. I hate Almost Man. Like Almost Man's
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Potential
fucking
man. Potential man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
potential man's like whatever, because potential man does that. Like Genji have the potential to win worlds. Like they're not, whether or not you believe they will, right? Okay. Almost man is even more annoying because Almost man, right? Literally, the boss is about to come in and kill the family. He like puts his hand out, the boss like stops, and then it crushes him and the family. And it's like that's the problem. That's why potential man has the ability to do it. He just doesn't get in that situation. You say to everyone around it, oh, he could have saved that family. Almost man is like he fills you with belief, right? The thing is like BDD is actually Superman, right?
Oh, fuck me, man.
BDD is actually Superman though. Like he is actually like, me and Rich always go over it. Like I think for the first, like I always used to say, like I think BDD is like the best carry. I think Chovy was the best player generally. It's just like BDD has to actually hard carry his teams, but I don't think that just makes you a better player. I think at the end of MSI summer to this point in Worlds, I think BDD's been the best player. I don't think Chovy's still been excellent, but I think BDD's been the best general overall player.
Can I please ask Keire the most Keire question ever?
Go.
Because I know from you, from last year when we spoke about it, you were super upset that Knight didn't win Worlds, and you were like, "Knight's fucking won me. Knight, he's the best player." Who are you more upset about not winning in five games, Knight or BDD?
I wasn't that upset about Knight. I think Knight played well. It was just the end result. I was more just like annoyed that like they got.
Who do you felt deserved it? Who do you felt deserved it more in terms of individual performance in the finals?
Oh, individual performance, Knight
was better last year. Like Knight was unreal.
Knight was
finals last
bro.
year.
Knight in the bro.
Yeah.
Like bro, even in the bad Galio game, by the way, he dies like 6 times, and in all 6 of his deaths, he's like literally holding up. He's like Atlas Shrugged, mate. Like it's genuine. No, bro, he literally he almost kills.
Do you just regular Atlas? Atlas Shrug is something very different to just
Atlas Shrugged is the Ayn Rand novel, mate.
Yeah, it is.
From a bit of fucking right-wing literature there, mate.
A bit of objectivism, right? Okay, and which I know Knight would get behind. You know what I mean?
He's been like, yeah, he's playing really well. Jordan Peterson's 12 rules for life,
fuck.
mate.
Maybe he is Diogenes. This shit's hot.
I can see you made your bed today, so you're following one of the rules.
Right. Okay. Hey, I'll get to the end of this segment. And so that's the thing about like the whole Knight situation. Like Knight played really, really well. He, like almost anyone who's ever played Faker in a World Final and deserved to like win it, it was like Knight. It just really unfortunate stuff happened with like comical levels of unfortunate happened with his like team. And like, by the way, T1 didn't play that well in the finals. Like I was surprised how bad T1 were in the finals versus BLG. He literally he caught T1 on a bad day, and it still was only 2-3. T1 had no business losing that many games to BLG. BLG are not a good team.
They were
T1
heavy
just-
underdogs going into that final.
Faker first game Faker loses because he thinks he can play Yon into Knight, and Knight just like murders them, and it like that, like they just give up an entire game because they're just like, okay, we're gonna test this draft, and then it's like Faker's like, I will not be playing melees that aren't Galio for the rest of this game series, and then the hilarious like, no, it gets better.
In your world, he said it like a come fly with me.
No. What's hilarious is like then the coaches, and because it's a BLG novel, the T1 coaches pick him Silas every single game, right? Okay, and Knight's like, okay, but I'm going to then just attempt to counter with Galio, and Faker's going to carry like all these games. It's like, why did we do this? But anyway, I digress. We'll move on to the main story. One little talking point, and this is why I'm so obsessed with like esports history, and I've noticed nobody talking about this now, and I think it's really interesting. Faker's won 3 world championships in 2 separate parts. Really interestingly, in the first 3, he had to beat or was the first seed of Korea, and the next 3 he never played the first seed of Korea to win worlds. T1 have now won the 3 world champions after the worlds without actually beating the Korea first seed. Like they've either been put out beforehand, because Gen G wasn't it last year, it was actually HLE. Then it was the, like, you know what I mean, three years, and then the year that he lost in the final, they never played them. So like Faker has actually not played the Korea first seed at Worlds for like in a BO5 elimination for like a long time. Now, not to say he wouldn't have won some of them, or like, you know what I mean, or he didn't play the best team at the tournament, like in 2023. He definitely did. I think JDG was the best team at the tournament,
but
arguably.
Also Gen G last year as well were the best team of the tournament.
I think HLE were actually the best team that just walked into an unwinnable. Ben, no one knows.
They drew the one draw, which they can't win because Doran can't play against Bin very well on the whole.
Yeah, well, and historically, and so I think
this
it was
year
really
changed quite a bit, but yeah.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of factors changed this year, so I think it was really interesting. I think World Finals, once you go later into the draft, it just gets really, really hard. I think Doran's just, I've talked about this before, I think Doran's just so much of a less of an issue in Fearless, because the best way to beat Doran is to like pin him, and to like, I went and like looked, so like across the 2 matches that he played where Doran was on fixed matchups, he was on average 2,800 gold down in a BO5, like across the whole BO5, so like on the aggregate he was like that down, and then in the Fearless era he's actually been matchup dependent, he's actually been like inflex up sometimes, like 300 400, so like you know what I mean, like it depends on who Doran's at. The whole idea is like Doran is still like a good player, obviously he's good enough for you to win worlds, but it's a lot easier to hide Doran. But
don't you think I think it's actually really interesting though. Don't you think it was funny how like all of the narrative stuff at the time, also because we didn't know that Fearless was going to be for the rest of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
But like all the narrative stuff was like, oh, Faker really is like the goat of goats if he can make Doran into like an unbelievable player and they still win. But actually, those things didn't happen.
Doran was terrible.
Yeah, Doran, they won in spite of Doran, but they still won. And it's like, is that more or less impressive than like Faker getting out his puppeteering kit and like now you are good at like really good at League of Legends? Like, really weird, by the way. Like the fact that Zeus was like probably the best player in the world, you might, or there was an argument for it at the end of last year, that at least some people were saying that, right? Definitely the best top laner in the world. And then you replace him with Doran.
No, it wasn't. I don't think it was better than Ben last year, but whatever.
Across the average of the year, I think it's, well, we remember it was, I remember it was a conversation between like Keen, Bin, Zeus last year, right? That was the
I think everyone was saying, whether or not it's like across the aggregate of the year, I guess it's a slightly different point. At the end of the year, everyone was saying Zeus was the best top laner, like at that point.
Yeah, Ben's final wasn't as good, so yeah, that's fine. I can agree with that.
But whatever, regardless.
You know what hurts Ben is when he got sunned by the Shy Weber 2023. I think that really hurts him.
Yeah. Honestly, well, okay, personally, I think this year hurts him way more, because actually, like, I think like this year in particular, it really was like, okay, you've had a couple of years at the top of your game, you've retained most of a roster, you know, and honestly, a lot of the reason why BLG failed this year is individually, Ben was just not good. Just compared to his form, he was just not good. He showed it like a little bit towards the end of summer. I guess start of winter was pretty good for him too, but most of this year, Bin was just a shadow for his former self.
Yeah. Something I actually want to ask you guys, because as I said, for me personally, I know it's like, with a lot of world stuff, it is like more of a feeling than anything else. Like I think Jake actually made a
Famous
good
song by
point.
Boston, of course.
Indeed. I did, partly because of the time zone, partly because of like a multitude of factors, including there not actually being many good series, even this Worlds, other than like T1AL, and honestly, that's like the only actual really good series, I think. I am not going to look back on this Worlds like too fondly, I think, in terms of like what a great hype experience it was or whatever. I want to ask you guys, one, I guess sort of in a word, or not in a word, in like a sort of to summarize like how you feel about this World, and then also like what is actually your favorite Worlds like up until this point. I'll just start by saying, like, for me, unironically, part of it obviously was because I was there in person or whatever. Last year for me was like amazing. I actually think that they did a really good job of like, I'm not usually someone who cares too much about like pomp and pantomime and that kind of like malarkey or whatever, but last year I actually thought like just the opening ceremony and stuff was like really good. I thought Linkin Park, like whatever you think of the new singer, like that whole show with Linkin Park and the other artists, like was actually really good. I was pleasantly
Ash Nico
surprised.
was so good.
Yeah, really good. And then I watched it back actually, because obviously he was there in person. I watched it back to see what it looked like on the stream afterwards. They filmed that so fucking well, like with the cameras coming down through the sky and stuff. Was
I actually got to hang out with a couple of people from the opening ceremony last year. Actually,
that was sick. So yeah, and obviously a lot of the series were really good last year as well. And a lot of the promo videos, like the Gen GT1 promo, was fucking insanely awesome. And the finals.
Oh, dude, the teasers were so good last year.
The finals one, I think I'm in a minority where I thought it was good, but I wasn't like holy shit. The semi-finals one, I was like holy shit, that's fucking awesome. So for me, that is honestly the Worlds where I had like the best experience as a spectator. I mean, yeah, Jake, what did you think of like this Worlds, or how do you like summarize your thoughts on this Worlds, and what is like the Worlds so far for you that has like resonated with you the most or stuck out for you?
Yeah, this Worlds kind of ranks really low for me, to be honest. It's down there, to be honest with you. I think the last two, like 24 and 23, I really liked because I went there, obviously, similar to you. I think in terms of personal enjoyment, like overall, it's probably one of those two because it's like I went there and like I attach it to memories, like, you know, interviewing Faker and shit like this. But if I was to go like purely objectively, like to view as like a viewer, I think it's probably like 2015. I think 2015 Worlds.
That was an insanely fun Worlds.
Was that in Europe? That was Europe,
yes,
right?
London,
I don't know. I don't remember.
Quarterfinals.
Yeah,
London had the quarterfinals. Yeah.
Faker
London did the
doing
quarterfinals.
Roly poly, right? That's that Worlds.
I just like remember that because that's the Worlds where Origin beats LGD and like Faker does like not Faker, but XPK does the crazy like 4-man shockwave against Imp and all of those guys. Like that's like the most like that's like the game that got me hooked on like esports. I think like because I stayed up to watch that. I stayed up to watch that with I would have been 15, and my younger brother Garth, who's into esports as well. He helps me out with some stuff at Ruddy. He would have been 12, and we stayed up to watch that, or whenever it was. I don't know what time zone it was, but I remember we watched that together, and that was really hype. So it's one of my like shared memories with my brother. So I think that's probably up there for me.
I was at the final actually. I was 3-0 against Nagnay's Coup Tigers, was it? No,
so that was not. So Nagnay was on KT, and it was Q Tigers in the final, and
Kuro.
that would have been Kuro.
Kuro. Yeah. I
remember and it was 3-1 because that was the one game that they
yeah.
dropped in the entire tournament.
Hojin plays Lee Sin and Pop Hojin. Yeah.
Well, okay, the game that they lost was actually more about like Gorilla's Thresh popping the fuck off because he managed to catch Faker on mid wave like a bunch of times on Thresh because Faker lost his Lulu game that series. I seem to remember.
Yeah. What about you, Keire?
Definitely, I think I'm like so convinced. Like, I think the most important Worlds for League of Legends is 2014, without a doubt. I think there will never be a Worlds that will have the knock-on effect that 2014 had, and I think the best Worlds was 2016. I think narratively, I think the drafts were insane. That was when Korea was simultaneously at peak in terms of the actual picks in the game were really, really strong, and the tactics and the drafts were really, really strong, and basically it was the only thing that was really archaic was like map movements and like swapping, not lane swaps, but like a lane assignments. That was the only thing that was really archaic at like the time. 2016 was such a good year. It probably has the three best like consecutive series ever from T1, where they play RNG, who have the bot lane win condition, and they play to like top side and jungle pick, and then they play against Coup, and you have
Rocks
the
at that
fucking Rocks. Sorry, Rocks. And it's the arguably probably the best team in the world. They've just won Korea, for the first time.
Was that
and
the
T1 get
Misfortune?
Yeah.
Support? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they then go into the finals, and what's so cool about the finals is like a style mismatch where like Samsung on this specific patch are the best team in terms of like they get the most points from the patch, but T1 are a better team, if you get my point, right?
Weirdly, the Samsung of that year are quite similar to what Jin'er would do after, where like it come what may, they could always drag you late game and force you to fight like late game ruler, which was really, really scary at that point.
And it was so the only thing that could have made that like that the 2016 Worlds better is if TSM had gotten out of the groups, because I actually think that would have been that was actually one of the
that year.
Oh, the Lucian moment, the double lift.
That happens. There was more to it than just like the double lift thing. That's just like the big throw. But like that was the only that year was like so unbelievably good. And even the side matches were like really sick as well.
Hell yeah, H2K versus Albus Nox. That was a sick BO5. Holy moly.
That's genuinely the worst part of like the entire tournament.
Whoa. Let's calm down here.
No, but that group was also sick. Remember, like Albus Nox and
G2.
like
it was CLG G2, right? Or...
Like I think.
Oh my god, that's gotta be the darkest hour in G2's history, you know? Going out 1-5 to Albus.
I would argue that MSI that year was more embarrassing because they got blitzed in MSI, because that was like them, because that was where the G2 vacation
meme, yeah.
That was the G2 vacation meme coming on, because they're like, oh, we didn't prep that much for MSI, and like it massively tanked their reputation after destroying Europe in the first split.
And relative to the field, I don't think Faker will. I don't think any player, maybe like Chovy during like the regular seasons of like early this year or 24 would maybe be like close, but it wasn't the pinnacles of what Faker was at Worlds in 2016. Like relative to like pressure and like expectations and like what he had to do for his like team. People often say it was like a solo carry job. It wasn't. Duke was arguably the second best top laner in the team.
It was literally, oh my god,
it was literally like night and
Trundle.
Yeah, it was like night and bin. You had two top 5 players in the world in like the same team, and then like a supporting cast. But the supporting cast actually like complemented the players. And it was just such an amazing year. What do you call it? It was amazing. It was reignited as well. It was good.
What do you think, Nymaera? What was your favourite worlds up to this point, and where does this one rank? I'm going to assume not too high.
Yeah, again, like for me, waking up at 6 a.m. for a month, it was pretty rough for my personal enjoyment of it. I mean, there was some cool bits of it, and you know, I loved doing worlds, and I did a lot of watch parties over with G2, right, and seeing getting to kind of interact with some fans and stuff like that was very cool on like a personal level. In terms of the actual enjoyment of the gameplay, I don't know. I just felt like a lot of like for instance, the level of top lane at this Worlds just felt really bad. You know, I don't walk away from this Worlds feeling like there was one stellar top laner, in a way that you kind of do from every other Worlds, right? I think that so I ended up doing my team of the tournament. And I ended up having something like I ended up putting Flandre as my top laner. It's like, well, it's like him or Keen maybe, but I don't think there's any top laner which was like massively stable. Maybe even I don't think you can put Perfect after his bits and pieces of his gameplay as well. But either way, the idea is that regardless of who you land on, I don't think there's a perfect pick for top. Okay, jokes aside, there's not like a fantastic pick for top lane. And I think that led me down this kind of mental path of actually, well, do I think any team do I feel like they really solved the patch? Did they really figure out what was happening at this meta? Do I think that they were at the pinnacle of what gameplay could be at this moment? And while I think that T1 were incredibly clutch, and I think that they have some incredible individual players, I think that, Guma Keire as a bot lane just continue to impress to no end. I think Faker was on a very good run of individual form or whatever. And I think Ona capped off. I mean, parts of World weren't great for him, but I think his finals were actually very good. Still, despite the fact that
Doran was there. Is that what you're going to say next?
And Doran did whatever he did on Camille in the base in Game 5. Yeah. But like, I didn't walk away from this thinking that this was the pinnacle of League this year. And this is not a dig because I don't think any team has done that. And I still think that T1 were the best team. They were, and I think that they were very good at clutch team fighting. So please don't misunderstand me on that. But I don't walk away from this tournament thinking that teams really solved this meta and played at the pinnacle. I still have no idea what the fuck was happening around Atacon all of this year. And it was like, yeah, and I don't think that got any better at Worlds. So I kind of, whereas I look at, say, I look at 2023 and I look at like the JDG T1 series and I'm like, well, fuck me, that was just incredible. Like what, I mean, that was just pinnacle. You can't recreate that. And there was a real lightning in a bottle element to that. And then you throw out a couple of other series. I'm thinking, 2016, that semifinals was fantastic. That saved the tournament for me though, because I didn't like a lot of the rest of that tournament. Not really. I thought that semifinals was excellent, and I had a very good personal experience of that too, because I watched it with a bunch of friends when I was back in uni back then. That was really, really cool. 2015 was very special to me. It was my first live league event because I went to London to go see the quarterfinals. In fact, actually, I was reminiscing with this on stream the other day because I had Monty and Dora on call for. I was like, yeah, so I remember KT Rolster versus Q Tigers, and you were talking about like fishing for catfish called noodling. I was like, oh yeah, we were really on one in that quarterfinals where you stick your hand in the mud and catfish go and, pull them out with your hand, basically. God, it was, there was some really fun moments back in 2015. But I think, honestly, my favorite Worlds is maybe a toss-up maybe between 21 and 22 for different reasons. 2021 was the year that DFM made groups as the one team from the LGL to ever make a group stage. That was while I was covering the LGL as a bootleg broadcast, completely unpaid, basically doing what I'm doing for LPL now, but LGL. That was in many ways the start of my casting career. Because actually that weirdly gave me some analytical relevance to be, and I made the call out that, oh yeah, I think that Ari could play better than Perks, and that ended up actually happening for one or two games. It was, anyway, they lost the first game, they won the tiebreaker, and I think Ari was a big part of that. Got to talk about a lot of very cool stuff about that team. So that was very cool in terms of a personal attachment level. And 2022, there were so many things about the Def versus Faker run, the amount of 5-game series. Yes, I know that COVID kind of wrecked a couple of the series with the illness and whatever. But I think at the end of it, I look at the T1 down one series. That was mega. The EDG semifinals on the other end and the finals were really, really cool too. I think it was 5-game series in both semis and finals. And they were like legit 5-game series from what I remember too. It wasn't like, it was just kind of like scraping through to the end of it or whatever. So I think maybe 21. Oh, 21 was pretty good though. But 22. The EDG thing, that was 21. I'm conflating the years. But obviously the DRX Def versus Faker, DRX Cinderella Stories is very, very hard to beat as well. I think maybe I give it to 22. I think 22 is so hard to beat with just how the pieces lined up for that narratively.
Do you guys think, by the way, now that we've had like a whole year of seeing what domestic and international tournament looks like with Fearless, do you feel that Fearless possibly was one of the reasons why this tournament maybe didn't live up to expectation for a lot of people? Do you think that had a meaningful impact, or do you think that's sort of just happenstance and it wasn't really, particularly?
I think it's I don't know. I think there's stuff like removal of plans and then shrinking the quarterfinals to semifinals into a single week. That for me,
that was really weird. By the way, I actually got thrown by that because T1 played.
I understand it to a certain extent, right? Because they want to make sure that there's no lengthy break to drop the energy. I personally think it went a little too far because I ended up kind of going from quarterfinals, not really having time to process stuff like CFO going out, and actually I was really excited to see the continuation of their story. The Peanut. The last dance of Peanut, and then next day you have to go on to semifinals. Basically, I can't remember. No, that wasn't the last one. That was the second one. But there were a lot of things which I didn't really get to process it. And again, because I was waking up at 6 a.m. streaming the whole thing as a co-streamer or whatever, I didn't have much of a break anyway. And maybe you have more as a casual viewer. But I think having everything there back to back made it much harder to kind of have time to actually process and let the emotions of the moment sink in.
Yeah, I think the scheduling was also just kind of straight up unfair. I remember because I was actually looking at the schedule to see when we were going to plug in a podcast, because obviously you want a couple of days breathing room either side or whatever. And I remember being quarterfinal, I was like, wait, if T1 win their quarterfinal, the next day semi-final, then T1's playing again, their semi-final. But the teams who were playing in the quarterfinals had like a week off. Like, it was really weird. And I know you can say, well, KT, for example, got rewarded for being like first seed or whatever. But I don't know, like having 2 days to prep at BO5 at Worlds, like after playing a quarterfinal, I think that's kind of mental. Like, to me, that is like, you are prioritizing sort of, I guess, TV, if you like, over competitive integrity. Because I was like, that's bananas. Like, one team's got a week, another team's got like 2 days or whatever. Like, kind of bonkers. But yeah, I don't know. Like, my overarching thoughts are like, was it like the worst Worlds ever or whatever? I don't know. I don't necessarily feel like too strongly about it. I think maybe to a certain extent we were somewhat spoiled, I guess, by some of the storylines, as you said, like honestly, going from like 2021 all the way to 2024, I felt like all of those worlds like had a lot of high moments. So yeah, I don't know. For me, this is like the worst one in a while. I also didn't really like the world song, for whatever that's worth. I thought it was like a bit whatever. Again, I feel like maybe I'm in the minority. I actually really liked last year's song. I thought it was really good. I think most people were like a bit,
Oh no, my problem with that is like I have them literally just out of camera there. That there is the Meteora 20th anniversary album. Like, Linkin Park are my favorite band of all time. So I'm not comparing this song to world songs. I'm comparing it to the songs made by my favorite band of all time. And I'm like, okay, I can see how this works as a world song. I think it's actually quite a mediocre Linkin Park song. So I didn't love it as much because of that. But that's kind of mitigating factors.
Imagine Morrissey just getting it on stage and just fucking shaking it, like fucking doing a world song. You know what I mean?
The thing is, like, most world
I
songs
was
actually-
looking for a ward, then I found a ward.
Oh,
But
God.
I don't know.
Please let me keep Zeus.
I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm just a hater, but I feel like most world songs suck, and I actually liked I thought the Little Nas one was complete garbage.
Well,
like,
okay, there's two
shit.
levels to it,
The
right?
Zed one
Because
was dog shit. Like, I don't know.
Because there are
Linkin Park
points where
one was
it's
good.
like, is it a good song? Is it a good music video? Is it good for use on broadcast? Those are 3 ways that you have to judge it, right? So, for instance, I think Rise hits all 3. It had the best music video by far. It was a very good Rise and Fall song, and it was very, very good for use in any kind of broadcast because it had enough dynamic range for you to use it in a bunch of different scenarios. Something like Legends Never Die, very good for the high peak moments. It's an absolute icon. I don't think the music video is fantastic, actually. That was one of the weakest parts of it. And on use on broadcast, there were, in some ways, it's almost too hype in the high moments to use on every bit of the broadcast, and then too low in some of the other bits to use it in some other ways because you don't have the like as smooth dynamic range for it. It's still probably my second favorite one like that.
I've got a solution.
Yeah.
It's like like the thing that people don't get about Shirley Bassey is like, like I promise I'll
Go on.
It's like, Shirley Bassey famously, like, she did like a Bond anthem or whatever, and people are like, oh bro, all she can do is Bond anthem. It's just like, they're kind of right, because it's like, you go and listen to like Shirley Bassey has like a cover of like Light My Fire by The Doors, and she's just doing a Bond. It's just a Bond anthem that's not in a Bond film. I think they should get Shirley Bassey would do a great Worlds song.
Hey, Goldfinger would be a great world song. No, that's Shirley Bassey, isn't it? That was a banger. That was a straight up banger.
Yeah, exactly. Really, she's like
Anyway, imagine getting one skill and you're good at Bond songs. It's like, all right, sorry, like, oh god.
That's like they're like objectively good songs.
Dude, I'm trying to think who my like dream world anthem would be. Well, Linkin Park would actually be pretty close to the top.
Let me tell you, Shirley Bassey, or you get Paul McCartney and Wings, and they do something similar to Live and Let Die. It basically just a Bond song, is what I'm trying to tell you guys.
Well, because realistically, you're looking
Adele,
at like,
then. Let's
and
get Adele in.
you're looking at like
That'd
anthem. Because this is going to be a real tangent, but one of my favorite bands of all time is Feeder. Very appropriate to League of Legends. And one of the things that was very interesting about them is that they
Also, people who like fat women. Carry on.
Aren't Feeder a one-hit wonder? How can they be?
No.
one of your favourite bands?
So they did Buck Rogers. No, the Silent Cry album is absolutely fantastic. I don't know. There's a bunch of really, really cool stuff that they did. But they so Buck Rogers is their big song, right? But they have a bunch of other stuff. Like
That's
Comfort
a
and
banger.
Sam is a great
Shout
album.
out Gran Turismo 3. Great.
Yeah, but they kind of wrote music for bigger stadiums and bigger stages than they were playing on. There are bands which sound very good in small venues, and there are bands which sound very, very good on large stages. Someone like, you think of, I don't know, what's a really big example? Someone like Def Leppard. They have just such an expansive sound. They work really well in really large arenas. So you're kind of looking for bands, for worlds which play to large arenas well. So I actually think one of the better bands for that would actually be the more modern era of Bring Me the Horizon. They'd actually be pretty lit for that. If you really think about the That's the Spirit kind of album onwards, they fill stages. They fill the sound of the stage really good. Dude, I saw Oasis. No. I saw Oasis in 2008 in Millennium Stadium, Cardiff, and they were fucking awful. Liam just kind of rage quit midway through the set and just went, "I'm gonna go take a shit," and he didn't come back for the rest of the set. Pretty much, he came back for like one song in the encore. Like, fuck me, they were really bad. I don't know if they're better on the current tour, but that bad. They owe me my ticket price back from when I was, I don't know, like 10 or something, 12, I guess.
I think they've always been like corny little drama queens, those two, haven't they? So,
Yeah, but that's part of the drama of, being rock star.
I guess. Anyway, let's talk about a couple of more sort of holistic topics. Something that's, got everyone arguing online. And when I say everyone, I literally just mean me and LS, obviously, arguing at each other again. Maybe a couple of
Are we actually going to talk about that?
Well, yeah, no, why not? Like, I think it's interesting, especially because also, to a certain extent, I'm talking out my arse. I'm just talking from more of a concept, because I obviously, I don't know StarCraft like particularly well, but loads of people weighed in. So yeah, obviously like it's Faker's sixth fucking Worlds or whatever, and people naturally start making the comparisons of like, oh, he's the Michael Jordan of esports and blah 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 blah. Now my actual opinion on this is that these kind of like cross-world comparisons just don't really work like at all, like particularly. But I understand they're both competitive endeavors, and you can win in them. So that alone kind of gives you license to, make some kind of comparisons or whatever. And my contention / rage bait / engagement bait was, Faker Flash is basically a filthy little scrub compared to Faker now, isn't he? Because of one arbitrary trophy. It's not arbitrary, but you know what I mean. It's like, it's a team sport, yada yada. Was he, at his absolute peak in the final? No. Did he have a really good tournament overall, though? Yes, he did. And Flash was obviously such a fucking joke of a player that this guy got bored of playing just one fucking, what do you even call them? Race, I guess. Faction in StarCraft, and just started playing on random because the game was too easy. Now, yeah.
By the way, there's a certain framing around that. No, I'm gonna tell something about the framing around that. Continue when you go.
Yeah. So anyway, like my whole thing is, and again, I don't pretend to be a StarCraft historian and to be able to fully contextualize, all of the fucking bonjour and how good a level of competition.
It's like I'm here.
Sure, people like Boxer and Jaedong and whatever. Like, I don't know, like, the history of StarCraft, but I just feel that if you play, again, I always
No one ever talks about briefs. They always talk about Boxer, never briefs.
Shut up.
My general
really underrated career.
He's
left exposed sometimes.
It's the speedos.
Don't get me started on Thong,
getting all the love. No one ever talks about Y-fronts, actually. They just don't get the love.
Shut up! Get to your damn
Anyway, sorry. Anyway, my contention is always just, if you and your friends have made a game during Christmas time where you're all liquored up, and you all play that game in that room, and one of you is the winner, yes, technically, you are the GOAT of that game. And yes, I am equating Flash's career to me playing a drunken game on Christmas. But no, the point is, I don't give a fuck whatever LS has to say about like, oh, but there were so many good players in Korea. Bro, like, yeah, loads of people played that game in Korea. But all of those numbers he gave me, by the way, were super fudgy. Like, I couldn't actually find any of those specific numbers, like, on the internet that had any credibility whatsoever. Like, the idea that like however many accounts you make, like, is somewhat correlative to how many people are playing the game. That's horseshit, and there's been horseshit in every game ever made. So forget the 4 million accounts nonsense. The point is, way more people, obviously, play League of Legends than StarCraft. And League of Legends is not a game that is so heavily dominated by Korea, even though obviously it was heavily dominated by Korea, that you just discount the fact that over 100 million Chinese people played it. Like, some of the greatest players of all time are Chinese. Mako is Chinese. Uzi is Chinese. Knight is Chinese.
You've missed the point, I think.
I'm only making one point, so it'd be pretty impressive if I'd managed to make multiple at the same time. But if you just let me get through this, Keire, then you can obviously, say whatever you have to say. So the thing is, it's like the Chinese in this game, for example, are highly competitive, even if they're still a long way off Korea. And of course, the rest of the world plays it, and the rest of the world is trying to constantly play catch up with Korea. So in the same way that even though I might think Federer is like one of my favorite athletes of all time, the reality is the level of access to tennis is not the same as being able to play fucking street football in Brazil or anywhere else in the world. There is a gateway to playing that sport, which means that way fewer people play it. But regardless of what the actual specific reason for that is, the reality is over 1 billion people play football and watch football, right? Whereas, I don't know, a couple of 100 million probably play and watch tennis. So yeah, Messi is more impressive than Federer. Like, shock horror. Like, it just is at that point. So yeah, it is what it is. And that's how I feel about StarCraft. You were obviously amazing, incredibly dominant, all the rest of it, and Keire and whoever else can obviously make counterpoints. But ultimately, unless your career is so like absurdly beyond the other person's career in terms of dominance and accolades, you can't really make, in my opinion, that comparison properly, because the other person is playing in such a more densely filled pool of people. So that is my main point. So yeah, Keire, you bursting at the seams. So let's hear it. Where am I missing the point?
Okay. No. So, right. It's really not that, like, crazy, okay? Right. First of all, completely correct in the thing that you can't really compare them. It's more of a thought exercise than anything else. There's two things people need to, like, concentrate over. Because people are going to reference, like, loads of different things and spitball them in terms of, like, how measurable they are, right? Okay? Like, so, like, first of all, you need to, like, I think if you were to put, like, a gun directly to my head, okay? I think Faker is, like, the greatest esport, because what people put inside greatest is they put into all these other, like, cultural, like, things in terms of, like, what they achieved, how big their game was, like, how popular their game was, all this stuff, right? That's the first thing. Second thing, the only thing that matters in any given esport, okay, is, like, did Koreans play it? And let me tell you why. In any game that they play, Koreans make up the majority, if like Korea plays it, you know what I mean? The majority of the greatest of all time candidates. In Warcraft 3, they have Moon. In StarCraft 1 and 2, it's a joke. In League of Legends. Now, China, this is my problem with the contention of China. You can make an entirely legit top 10 players of all time, right? And have no Chinese players on it. None at all. Zero. It would be completely correct. You'd have zero on it. It wouldn't even be that crazy. BDD, start listing them. Rookie, BDD, Mata, like, what do you call it? Faker, Chove. They're already down. Viper, Ruler, Korea, Owner, Canyon. So we're at 10, and I'm not even, like, thrown that many hands. You've then got, like, Keen, you know what I mean? The Shy. You know what I mean? These, like, more French players in terms of the peak. You can make... Now, there's one exception.
For a second, I thought you said French players, and I was like...
No,
what?
There is one exception to this where I think you would really be hard pressed not to have Knight in it. But Knight is an exception, even beyond his rule. Like, I think like Uzi not being on it would be like entirely legit. And my point of like framing it like this is the only thing that matters to Faker's legacy is the fact that there were other all-time great Koreans because he is from Korea, but Korea played his game. Obviously, he's from Korea, right? The Flash also has that contention. It does not matter that anyone else played Brood War. It's fucking irrelevant, right? It's like, the only thing that matters is that it was massive in Korea, and the Koreans, like, dominated it. Like, the fifth best, like, Korean would go abroad, and he would go be, like, unbeaten. Not like he would lose maps. He would just be unbeaten. Like, people went to, like, EWC or, like, World Cyber Games, and they played, like, random one year or something. And they, like, the Korean fans found it really disrespectful. So, like, the person, like, stopped doing it. There's, like, loads of little stories just in terms of the joke of how dominant they were. Right, okay?
Can I ask you a question, Keire?
No.
Sorry, Rich.
I was going to say, the problem is, this doesn't actually work as an argument, by the way. So I was going to let you finish, but it doesn't actually work at all. Like,
No,
it works to a certain extent, but you can't just say like, oh, but the thing is, you can make like a top 10 list and no, because Knight is in that list, like undisputably he's in that list.
But he's one outlier amongst like outliers.
No, for you and maybe for me, maybe almost everyone else or vast majority of people would also have Uzi. He's like a non-negotiable for a lot of people. Would I have him? I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. But we can't just be like, oh, but well, it's definitely this guy, and there's also maybe even probably this guy.
I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue with anybody about LPL players over fucking shit they didn't watch. I'm so fed up of doing this because people stop telling me how good players that I'm like one of like 10 people on the planet who watched all their careers as like this thought exercise. This is why I ended up like losing my cool with this because it's so stupid. Like I know how good Uzi was. He lost a bunch of fucking finals. He was a very good regional player, represented him. Was he just this consistently great all the time player? No. Like
sure, absolutely. But this is one of the issues, right? As I said, he'd be in a lot of people's list. Like that doesn't matter of itself, right? Because that's not like objective truth or something. You could say that's just a misconception. The thing is, peak Uzi is absolutely like one of the highest level of league we've ever seen relative to his era. That is undeniable. And he exists and he's Chinese, and Knight exists and he's Chinese, and Mako exists and he's Chinese, even if he's not like top 10 or whatever, and a whole bunch of players exist who aren't Chinese. And the thing is, they've also, and you can say, well, they always had a Korean or two or whatever on their team. China as a region has also won multiple worlds, so it's like it's not actually the same as StarCraft because you had 100 million people strong trying to win. The fact that Korea maintained its dominance doesn't actually discount the fact that there were 100 million people in China trying to also win. That is very relevant context. And if the argument would have more credence if there was actually just this brick wall that was Korea that no one ever penetrated, but China did penetrate it repeatedly. So that is highly relevant. So even though I get the point you're trying to make, that the behemoth is still Korea, it is just very relevant. Like if Argentina in football, let's say Brazil and Argentina were the two predominant countries, but Brazil like heavily dominated, right? And they had like 10 World Cups and Argentina only had 2. The fact that Argentina exists and is still pushing Brazil and is still relevant all the time, that is a very relevant part of the argument of the conversation. There is no Argentina to Korea in StarCraft. It doesn't even exist. You've got, what's he called? The fucking frizzy-haired French guy. What was he called? In the West, who won like a couple of like tier 2 tournaments, and that's it. And then our next best fucking Western players were like, I don't know, like Huck and Idra or some bullshit. Like these people aren't even in the same stratosphere. They're just like random also runs who get 10k concurrent viewers on Twitch. Like they're not actually relevant competitively, right? So like to me, basically StarCraft is just Korea competing, and then League of Legends is Korea and everyone else in the world taking it really seriously. It's just very rare that China or someone do break through, but they do break through every now and then. And Knight is one of the greatest players of all time for sure. And there are a bunch of other Chinese players who are all-time greats and actually comparable to their Korean counterparts, even if they aren't at the absolute summit. Whereas there's nothing that exists like that in StarCraft. That's like my point.
Okay.
Sorry, Jake, you wanted to...
If anyone else wants to input, I'm going to get to the end of mine. I
want to ask Keire a question. China has 3 Worlds trophies. Obviously, like, it's an unfair question to ask you. Do they have those world trophies if not for Koreans? But no, how much of the fact that they had those Koreans led to them having world trophies?
It's
like, how much heavy lifting are they?
It's literally the most important players on every team. It's Doinby.
Rookie.
Literally, the team doesn't work without Rookie the Shy. Teams literally don't work without them. And then the only one that's contestable, and then Viper Scout. The team literally doesn't work without Viper and Scout. Yeah. So, and you can't, by the way, there isn't a this is the point I've always made to people, there isn't a replaceable player. There isn't a comparable LPL ADC at the time, because Uzi's fell off, as good as Viper. So you can't say you can replace him. The only every time you can be like, oh, you could replace Rookie because Knight exists. That's why, and then Ben later on, but like top lane and fell off in that channel. That's why I thought of the thing. But anyway, back to the original thing. Okay. One of the deciding factors when you're talking about this is like, Flash played a single player game for a very long period of time where there was no exodus of talent and he had to play the best players all the time non-stop. There was no regionalised leagues, there was no segregated leagues. If he wanted to win something, he literally had to beat the same people all the time to win all of his things, okay, for the period that he was playing. He couldn't like dodge them or avoid them. He just had to consistently play them. The Faker's like competition domestically waned and like moved a bunch, which he can't control, but it did happen, and then he like won like a bunch of worlds. The other thing you've got to be contextual is Flash. Actually, like I think LS goes a little bit too far. I think Flash by 2011 isn't actually the best player, but we'll not get into that. Flash is like the best player for like a huge extended period of time, and then he is also better than all of his contemporaries eventually, right? Faker is not. Faker, what? So simultaneously, Flash is the most dominant player, which Faker also is, and then Flash is also just the best player that has ever existed, which Faker is not. As in, like you talked about this.
It's not like a thing where like he rises to the occasion, but like dips in form occasionally.
No. As in, like the
his
most
pure
dominant
level, so like Chovy, for example, is the highest. Chovy now, just because of definition of like how the game has evolved or whatever. Like Chovy now, I think most people would say is like. Actually, most people wouldn't say this because they're like fucking T1.
Yeah.
But you get the point. Logic denotes that Chovy's peak level this year and or last year is the highest level like ever achieved in the game, just purely because it's like a more evolutioned version of the game, right? So like Season 3 Faker might be the most absurd outlier we've ever seen, but if you like copy and paste him into today's game, if it was possible, blah, 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 like obviously he's not going to be the same. It's the same logic as like...
you measure it in relation to who's on the server,
like Faker's
right?
better today now than he was in Season 3, but that doesn't really tell the story kind of thing.
I hate when people say that.
Sure,
so
it's semantics, but it is reality as well. It's like...
It's more like, if the entire player base gets better over time, then obviously the best person in the world at the current time presumably is the best... at the highest peak if it's ever trending upwards.
In a young sport, at least, obviously in like football.
Yeah, but then the problem with this statement is like it's one of those things where it's like non sequitur. Like it logically makes sense, but it's like what is it hiding? You know?
Yeah, no.
It's like if we say that, then we have to go. We also have to like say that like Niski is better than right now than Season 3 Faker.
Yeah. Well, Niski's terrible. Which is like, I'm not sure, but yeah,
but like, bro, you kind of have to say, like, you know what I mean? It's
probably,
like horrible.
Yeah, probably, yeah. It is. It's a silly conversation, but yeah, it's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, so this is like the point. Like, and each person, they're like all five of us that have actually watched like both games. Okay, like in their entire.
Yeah, you're not interviewing him soon, are you, Jake?
Right?
I hope not. Jesus.
But there's like things that are like folded inside like Flash's greatness that like unless you know about Brood War, they're invisible. Like Flash has like all these achievements, like the 3 OSLs, 3 MSLs, okay? But he's also the best Star League player, which is the league system in Korea, which was like the teams fighting against each other in like a league system. But those don't show up as accolades for Flash. But he's also the best player at that ever. So there's a bunch of accolades that Flash has in Korea that don't even show up on his like trophy because they're team accolades. But it's literally the joke is Flash would sit down at his PC and 7 people would walk up and he'd beat all 7, and then everyone would applaud and go, KT, StarCraft team is the best team in the world. And Flash was just sitting there at the computer.
Wait, so just to clarify, because I actually don't know. So is it a thing of like it was like winner stays on?
Yeah, so like, what you do? Okay, so
it's like you defeat someone, they drop out. It's like in baseball, kind of.
Yeah, it's more complicated than that. I'm not sort of explaining it more than that.
I think it's more like a final boss where you have to beat everyone on the team at the end of it, and like basically.
So all his teammates just insta-fold, but it doesn't matter because Flash is just sat there like, who's next?
There's a thing called an all kill, which is you sit down and then everyone who comes up to you, you beat all of those players, and then you've like taken out the entire team. Flash has the record from all kills. He's done something like 32.
What?
and by the way, these are all and like by the way, these are all with people targeting him with specific strats where the person is designing a cheese just for him on a specific map that he doesn't know what the cheese is, and he has to just beat it on the fly.
Isn't the game like the meta is like balanced around Flash? No, that's not like an overstatement. I've heard people say that.
No, that's just Korean thinking because it's a copycat culture. There's loads of things built into it. Faker has a bunch of that as well, right? This is why the conversation. So basically, if you need to unpack all the Flash stuff, and you need to like address a bunch of the Faker stuff, it'd be a relatively interesting conversation. But as someone who has fighted them both, just to give you an idea of it, Faker is like probably just beginning to overtake Flash. Now, that's crazy to a League of Legends player to hear, because of what Faker is inside their head. But I can assure you, Flash is like bonkers in terms of like what he was able to accomplish. One thing, Rich, just because LS brought it up, the all random thing isn't actually that fair. Flash can basically play all the races to like an insanely high level, because to beat the other races as Terran, you actually need to understand them intrinsically. Yeah, like it's the ultimate knowledge race where like If you're not like a top tier player, it's the worst race to play. But once you have all the knowledge, it's the godlike race. But it's the hardest to control, and you can never tilt or like emotionally like lose. Your decision making has to be the best, like consistently. When Flash plays random, it is actually the most powerful faction in the game because 33% of the time he is Terran, but you don't know he's Terran. Right, but he does know, right? And then the other 66% of the time, he's still an S tier player, but you actually don't know which faction he is.
Yep. And
So
like
it's
you don't get to have. In some ways, it hides specific counters to him as well,
Yes.
because obviously they play very differently. So you can't
Oh,
kind of cheese
so
him.
people say it like it was like a for fun.
I mean, it kind
handicap.
of is, but
It is
also
a
there
kind
are
of for fun.
positives to it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
People say it's a for fun handicap, and you're saying it's not really a handicap.
No, there's upsides to it. There's like things that like are hidden inside
There are
it that make it.
caveats,
Yeah.
Because
caveats.
it means that like he can't specifically prep for you or kind of like dig down
Yeah.
into the matchup as much, but you can't do the same to him. So in some ways, it kind of levels
It's kind of
out the-
anti-meta then, in some ways.
Yeah, to an extent, and in some ways,
Isn't
I'd
that really?
imagine-
Isn't that really broken for him if everyone's trying to
well,
anti-strat
that's
him?
my logic would be, and I'm not someone that's familiar with it, but my initial kind of like thought process is, oh, doesn't that bring it down to kind of like whose fundamentals are better?
Yeah, exactly,
Because there's less specific prep, so any of your general skills and general prep take precedence because there's less of that specific prep going into it.
So like it's not. So like well, the way that people do it is like, oh, he's just bored.
Yeah, but
Is he
then
not?
the other
Is he
side
not
of
just
it is
doing
that
it to like
they-
remove anti-stratting?
But it also does mean that then he has to be up to date and like practicing 3 factions where you only have to prep 1, which is an insane handicap in its
Yeah,
own
that
way
is
too.
true. That is true.
Like basically it's caveat. It's not like it's not just a debuff. It's not just a positive thing too. It's a lot of, and like StarCraft was such a crazy studied game that
No, but I
obviously
feel
comes
like
into it too.
for me, like when you put it like that, it changes the story from being like,
Yeah.
oh, he changes the story from being like a thing of like, oh, he's bored and he's just like wants to like swat people with his bad hand or something, and it becomes a thing of like, no, this guy's like a genius, like.
Yeah, but like, and it's also just keeping it competitive for himself. Another thing, and here's a cool thing that like points for like Faker. You know, Faker played the ever evolving game, right? Flash played basically just the same game like all the time. Now everyone was trying to beat him at that game, and he is just the best at that specific rule set. But I've seen Faker be the best on a multitude of different things. And then this is my final point before I like hand it back over to everyone. The one thing that goes massively against Faker, and like people need to like try and calculate this out. It is a team game, so even as good as Faker is, let's just say you take peak Faker. Let's just say, you know, in a team game, 20%, each person contributes 20%, 5 are in the server, right? So at the end, let's say peak Faker, like, are we really saying peak Faker was like 40%? Like, there are people on his team contributing like 5 and 7% into a game, like 10% into like a game and stuff like that. Like, was Faker 50%? Like we can almost remove an entire player from the game and they would have still won. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to qualify. Whereas like Flash literally had to just be the best player all the time. Couldn't actually have off days because off days, like the other person would most
See,
likely
I
be
don't
on.
actually think this argument. I think this you can argue that this goes in his favor. By the way, because Faker, the craziest thing about Faker, like obviously because Faker's played for so long at the highest level, he has so many records just by default, right? Although this it's actually unfair to say by default, but like he's played more champions than anyone in the history of League at the pro level, right? So that is a longevity thing, but it's also like because he's a really good thing as well. But the other thing with Faker is he has the record for having played at the elite level with the most different teammates ever. And this guy won with some very good players in Season 3, right? They win Worlds. He is easily the best player in the world. But his teammates are also, for the most part, very good, right? And they win. Then, as you know, shortly after that, this guy ends up getting paired with the sister team. And he is the only remaining piece from the team that won Worlds.
Bengi was there too.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah. Him and Bengi, and everyone, by the way, memes Bengi. Not that Bengi was bad, but he wasn't like this all-conquering, amazing jungler. And Faker wins with that team as well. And then he wins with, I believe it's 57 teammates or something, 57 different teammates or something that he's had. And it's just win, 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 win. Now, obviously, there are huge people who don't watch LCK probably think that this guy's just randomly winning LCK all the time as well. He's not, by the way, in like the modern era. But the point is, during the course of his really long career, winning has followed this guy regardless of which teammates he's had for like the most part. So actually, I think in a team game, you could make the argument that this guy has such ludicrous impact on like as an individual, that regardless of the teammates that he has, for the most part, he still just finds a way to win in some capacity, whether that be a world title, whether that be back-to-back LCK splits, depending on the era. So actually, I'm not sure that even really works against him. Like, the thing is, Faker having 6 titles in a world titles in a team game, having so many different teammates during those world titles is bonkers in itself. Like, that's, in fact, if you were just to say, there's 2 sports, I don't tell you anything about the sports, but I tell you that one person is playing an individual sport and he wins the world title in that sport 6 times, and the other person is constantly moving team or constantly having all of or most of his teammates change, and he also has 6 titles. Yeah. Which one's more impressive? I don't think that's like a binary answer, by the way. I think you can make a case like either way. So I don't know that that works against him. I think that's actually like possibly even a feather in his cap. So yeah, I don't know. Like, but again, as I said, for me, the overarching thing is like, if you break down accomplishments, and it's not quite like for like, right? Because the frequency of tournaments that happens is different. The format of tournaments is like, there's so many different variables that you can't just match up tournament for tournament and say one world title in League equals what a one OGN something or other in StarCraft. Like, it's never going to quite work like that. But again, for me, it's just if way more people play your game and you are a similar level of dominance to someone in a different game with way fewer people, to me, without further added context, you kind of just auto win unless there's a special reason why you shouldn't.
Yeah, I've got one last one for you, and and it's a cool one, and something I would actually love to see. Now it'd be sick. No, not sick. It'd be like sad for them to do this. One of Flash's greatest achievements, if you know about Brood War, is he won against the anti-maps, basically the Korean. Kespa designed maps to be favourable for Protoss because Protoss is the weakest faction, but they would be bad for Terran, Flash's specific race. And he won ridiculous. I think he won 3 of his titles and then came second in one of them, losing to a Zerg player. But beating and having a positive win rate against Protoss opponents during this period, right? Imagine Faker literally just got like nerfed directly by Riot. Like all of Faker's like attributes, like they literally just picked a patch.
Well, they kind of did. The game did get changed away from him. A lot of the laning strats which he invented, and a couple of the things which he would like. So, for instance, stuff like the easiest one would be like Rise 2015, right? Like he was the one that was the best at it. And the thing in League is that the most dominant style of play gets nerfed eventually. And Faker had the most dominant style of play for so much of League that eventually they got phased out, and then he had to adapt to something else. So I actually think that does apply to him.
Yeah, but the thing is he can change and pivot and play the other thing, where Flash is literally has to play his thing.
Are we just like not going to comment on the global psyop that Riot's had, where like they helped T1 qualify to Worlds by like changing the meta and
that's fine,
and like adjusting adjusting the live numbers. Okay. I tweeted about this as well. Like you know when you used to play FIFA against your little brother and like your brother would go out of the room and you used to like slide up like your shot power and distance.
Wait, so that's why I always used to lose to Sam.
Exactly, and you used to turn them down, so it's like they're literally running in fucking quicksand like you when you're in a dream. Like he's going to the ball like that. And then like you just like score fucking 40-yard screamers. Like this is T1 in the last 3 years. Riot when it matters.
I think we need to go back. I think you do. You definitely need to choose the option where everyone likes you, because like that's a big red flag in a lot of people's lives.
Dude, like I'm hoping just people are like not intellectually compromised as much to like actually think that I believe that. Like I'm actually like this like super like CIA black site like T1 has like a global conspiracy like
Mate, it's kind of tradition at this point that every other episode we get a quote taken out of context. You nailed this one.
Great stuff. Can't wait for it, guys.
But anyway, let's move on. There's just a couple more things to cover before we let you guys go. As we have Jake here as a fellow practitioner of interviews, I thought it'd be interesting just to touch on the shenanigans that happened during Worlds. Because I actually realised we never even talked about this. Because I've been accused, would you believe, Keire, that we're like a drama channel for some reason. Because every now and then,
we're not.
I don't know, but actually, I think we barely ever fucking cover drama. We ignored this at the time when it happened, but let's talk about it now and embrace our true identity, I suppose. So, for anyone living under a rock, a Spanish interviewer, I believe she's called Irene or something like that, was interviewing Keire from T1, and basically the long and short of it is that he clearly looked like pretty tired and frazzled. It was straight after like a long hard series or whatever. I believe was it after the AL series or was it after it was after the AL series, I think. And he's like,
I think it was during a Swiss stage
I
game.
thought it was after they lost the
yeah.
Swiss stage
okay.
game. To,
No, I don't even think it was a loss. I think they won, but I think the whole thing was they won, but he didn't think he played well.
Was it the MCOY
okay.
one maybe where they kind of scraped through?
Yeah, from what I remember, it wasn't after a loss, but it was more just like I don't think he particularly thought he played very well.
But the good news is I'm not a journalist, so I don't care about facts. So either way, he was whatever. He's just tired, I guess. It's like the main takeaway to take from it. Everything else is whatever. He's tired. He's just played some form of League of Legends, and she's giving like, I guess, a slightly weird interview in the sense that he's not really like, I don't know, buying into the vibe that she's trying to get out of him, and it all sort of culminates in her asking him to basically do some like fucking weeb poses or some shit that he's like not really looking like he's in the mood to do. So instead he just gives like the fake a thumbs up or whatever, but that's not enough for old Irene, is it? So she like keeps pushing a little bit. Anyway, I don't believe that it gets like too contentious like during the actual like interview itself, although there has been a suggestion that she uploaded it, like took it down and then like re-uploaded it with some edits. Well, I don't fucking know. I'm not gonna speculate further, even though I've just injected that little bit of poison into the drink already, haven't I? But the point is afterwards she went on this mad spiel on social media, basically like trying to, I don't know, like basically just like going even heavier on Keire about how he's like really uncooperative and he should have like caved to her every wish and whim, I suppose. Like really weird like main character syndrome going on. But anyway, very bizarre situation. But as you know, we have Jake here, who obviously knows all things about being a professional and proper interviewer decorum. I thought we'd get your thought on this when you saw it. And
you know what?
you made of it.
I'm just going to come out and just be an arrogant cunt about it. For all of my vices and my unprofessionalism, I am like by far the best league interviewer like that goes to events and have been since I started. So I'll add that's
Is Travis Gafford dead and in the ground? Like what is this nonsense?
He is. Yeah, he's gone. He's gone. He's gone.
Yeah, what happened was around last year Worlds, Jake and I took him out. Where did we go out to take him to food to? And he was like, "Oh, I don't want to travel like an hour for food."
People, we like did a roundabout of like it was me, Jamal, and Nymaera, and Travis Gafford, and we were like, "Where should we go for food?" I was like, "This is a really good place," and I just didn't mention it was 5 minutes down the road from me. It's like a Turkish place like down the road.
It was really good. Just a fucking...
It was pretty. Nah, dude. It's like I used to live on Green Lanes, which is like famous for Turkish food in London. But as I was like sort of saying, self-glazing aside. Yeah, I don't know. This one was really weird. I think actually not to completely. I mean, we're obviously going to talk about this Irene situation, but just in general, like the quality of interviewing was like not great at this event, and I think Riot is starting to see the cracks of the new cohort, and I think there's a lot of factors in continuity with each other. Like just to give you an idea, like some stuff that like maybe you didn't see that didn't go as viral. Like there was a guy who was asking Keane. I think he didn't ask the question directly like this, but he then put it on social media. Yeah, and then like just to kind of clickbait, basically asking Keane about Chovy choking like immediately after the Gen G loss.
See that. Yeah.
There's also another person who asked BDD what he thought about getting a 9.9 on Hoopu after losing a World Finals, which is just like what the fuck, like yeah, lots of other. There's a few other small things as well. So it's just like interviewing is kind of like dropped to a level, but it's like we're quite privileged in League because there was always like I don't think Travis or Ashley are like that good at interviewing, but they're like but they're like above average at least, right? And like consistently above average in that like they're decent enough to where like you can get something good out of a player and like there will be like a good interview from that. And also I think Travis was like way more affable and like likable. Like I think he's like he'd admit this himself. I think he became a lot more jaded as time goes on. But if you go and watch some of his stuff from like way back, there's some like really, really wholesome moments, and like a lot of that has to do with him. He's not just like this like passive bystander that I think you could criticize him for becoming later. But like at least when you had those guys around, it's like there's a certain level of quality that's assured, and like obviously people were angry at it because it's like it's never really dipping into like top tier, but it's like consistent. I think with those guys gone, it's just like a lot of people just are really like if you didn't like those guys, like the not if it's a weird position for me to be in because it's like I go to events with these guys and it's like I like a lot of them, but it's like I don't really personally like see that many people that I'm like, oh cool, like you're ready to like step up into this mantle. So yeah, it becomes difficult, and then it's just like an access thing. I think like the what Patrick Paul Batiste would call it is the TikTokification of like everything. It's like how Keire went from being like the Neil deGrasse Tyson of like cook streaming to like being like an XQC clone kind of when he goes co-streams. Like he's just like, rattling and wailing, which is like part of the persona in the entertainment or whatever. But it's like,
and I'll chime in on this too because obviously I've done a lot. I've done like 1,000 hours of doing like stuff on my own stream this year, and I co-stream Worlds as well. It is way easier and more sustainable. Like as a person, that's not the word. Sustainable is the word for it. But like, yeah, it's much easier to do content like that, and then when you actually have the very good angle, dip back into analysis. It's not.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's not very easy to keep that up on your stream when you're doing it day in day out for the entire year. It's really
I just
hard
want
to
to clarify. Like, I'm not shitting on him when I say that. It's just more just like that's like the direction he's going. He's also like with stuff like that. It's just like it's never really about the person. It's more just like, what are you responding to in terms of like what exists as like a what's the word, cultural zeitgeist or whatever. I know that's like a buzzword, but it makes sense here. But yeah, there's like stuff like that, and then like I think the direction naturally the interviews are coming. Like it's like one of the things where it's like I don't give myself that much credit for like the way that what I did, because what I did is like not new. Like I'm a cultural response in my interviews to stuff like Hot Ones and like Nardwar and like all of these different other things that like exist in the same way. I just like saw the gap in the market to do it in League. So it's like it's not down to me. Like the one thing I'll give myself credit for is like I made it like more palatable and maybe like made people realize that they could do the same thing. And I think we're starting to see like the next. Like, I don't know. It's hard. I think it's fair to say, but like I find it hard to speak about myself in this way. A lot of the people that are like coming through now that do like the more funny stuff are doing it because they saw me do it. But it's like I didn't like reinvent the wheel on that. I was just the one.
It opened the door to it and made people remember that.
Yeah, I'm just like I'm like the ship in the night that arrived. Like I was the sperm that exited the walls. Like congratulations. Like it doesn't mean that I'm a better sperm than all the other sperm that didn't make it or whatever, right? Like terrible analogy, but in any case, the problem is I think what I am good at in terms of interviewing is that like I'm quite good at like reading people emotionally. So it's like even if there's like jokes or whatever attached to it, it's like I know how to angle something to where it's also like for me, what I've always said about interviews, if you think an interview is going to be difficult, you have to treat it like a really bad Christmas dinner with your stepmom that you really hate, which I've had to do a lot of times. So it's like, do you know how like if you have a family member that you really don't like speaking to, like there are certain words that are going to trigger them. So it's like you have to deliver a question with avoiding that. And they're just like, if you say it like if you say a certain thing, they're like, well, I don't think I'm that. What do you mean by that? And then it's like the question is completely derailed. I feel like lots of interviewers, just like when I watch their stuff, I'm just like, oh, you stepped on the landmine there. Congratulations. Like, of course they're pissed off now. You're not going to get a good interview. Because not only does it affect that question, it's going to affect the next 4 questions. They're just done now. Like, you're done. Time over, bro. You failed at the first tripwire. My biggest problem with the Irene thing is just like, I made a whole thread about it, and it sounds really unfair. I really see BA being charitable to them, to be honest with you, because I made my initial tweet where it's like, I made a long thread about it, and I even said like, not even in like a condescending way, like I'd be completely willing to like give anyone advice or like feedback on any of their stuff. I think I've earned that right to like be like on a pedestal somewhat to like give that advice out. But then it's like, the problem with what she did was that she literally came at it from such an angle of like it just got more insane the more layers you unpeeled to it. So it's like she did an interview, and like to be completely frank with you, the interview is like really shit, and like the way she approaches interviews is like really not great. I don't like shitting on people's craft, but it's like if you do it to yourself, you do it to yourself. Like She does this thing where she's like asking like, so imagine this, right? Like you got, and weirdly, Rich and Keire, you got to go to press to Worlds 24. So it's like technically your members,
Let's keep
your
this on the
members.
yeah, what's going
Yeah,
on?
maybe edit that out. I don't know, but like you're a member of this faction or whatever, and like also just beyond that, all of us here are like a certain part of us is like we are fans who are like, although like we might not feel it as much now because we're part of the space, we're like privileged to do these things, and it's like still a part of us. Like if Faker walks into a room and we're like, oh my god, fucking Faker's in the room. Do you know what I mean? We all innately have that within us. So it's like a thing where like for me, you are in an interview with like the fucking best support player of all time, one of the best players of all time, one of the best players in the world right now. And like I think she was asking him things like, she said to him, can you say that Irene is a better AD carry than Super? Like to like get him to say that, or like
That
maybe it
hurts
was
my
another
soul.
player.
Oh, that hurts
It's just
my
like,
soul.
how can you like genuinely like, how could you like, this is like, bro, this is like if I met like, I don't know, who's like my idol. You're not gonna laugh at me. It's like if I met Phil Collins.
Oh no, that guy's the goat. That guy's the goat, man.
I really fucking love Phil Collins. I'm sorry, guys, but it's like if I met Phil Collins, I was just like, bro, can you film a TikTok with me? Like, I'd like genuinely like shoot me with a fucking gun if I do that. Like, what the fuck? So it's like, we have a problem there. So it's just like the the expense of virality is being completely disguised with like a lack of anything that provides any value within like life. Like it's a real problem. It's just like with these new interviews, and it's just generally the vibe I got from what she was asking. I was just like, this doesn't provide any substance. You are like farming TikTok, and it's like it's so devoid of any substance to where the work is purely non-journalistic entirely, and it's also like endemic of a wider stratum of factors within the esport where it's just like so many people are compromised by their need to make virality that there's no substantive quality to it ever. So that was the first problem, that the interview is really bad, but that's forgivable. Like in many ways, you just look at that person, you're just like a cog in the machine, like you're a slave to this kind of like overarching capitalist superstructure or whatever. It's just like you don't blame the worker, you know. It's just like you have empathy for the worker, you know, and it's just like you hope that they can one day like have that kind
Think
of
of the shareholders, Jake. Think of the shareholders.
well, yeah, exactly. But you hope they can have that like kind of Aldous Huxley doors of perception moment, just like, you know, take some DMT or
honestly,
something
like,
and become a
just-
better interviewer. Like,
yeah. I mean, even just besides like the quality of the interview, which obviously, you know, there's a lot of good points you made there. I think one of the ways that we ended up at this point is this is a symptom of the fact that it is very hard to stay in this space as an interviewer. I think this is just in general now. If you are like a freelance creative or content creator in the esports space, it has been very difficult for a little while now. I think that I'd say ever since, I don't know, maybe 22, 23 is when I think the reality started to sink in for more people, where actually you can't make it easily in this space. You never could, but it felt like it became a lot harder over the last year or two. I think it's why we're seeing, it's part of the reason why, of course, there are multiple factors. I think it's part of the reason why we're seeing a lot of people move into content creation and away from pro spaces. I think that's why, I think obviously maybe that potentially added in someone like Keire doing that too. It might be, you know, if at some point in the future I'm like, actually, I don't think broadcast cuts it for me, I need to move on to something else, that might be an option that I have to take. And I'm sure there are others which have had similar thoughts too. The LEC media room, this year in LEC, when I was in the studio, I actually can't think of many times where people were even in it.
dude, I'll tell you, like when I used to go to Berlin, to do LEC interviews, it would be me, Lara, maybe sometimes. Lara Lunardi used to work at SK. And she's there because she's working, like she has to be there. And
she's not even there anymore. So.
Yeah, exactly. And it'd be like the BDS social media guy, who like I would like relentlessly harass like every day, and like do my funny little French accent.
Yeah, and I think basically at that point,
what kind of tweet are you going to be posting today, BDS social guy? Yeah.
But basically, you know, what that means is that the people who are good enough to have made it in the space have not stayed now, and it makes it much harder to, one, learn from what they've done as well, and two, it means that the example that you're following goes down, but it just means that the average of the space and the level that you have to keep up to has gone down a little bit, because it's very hard to stay in the space due to multiple factors. You know, there's been, I mean, obviously kind of the effect of COVID and the global economy definitely make it hard too. Just the job market in general anywhere is difficult. Being a freelance creative in a fairly niche industry does not make it any easier.
By the way, Nymaera, this is actually what happened in terms of like how this sort of almost snuck up a little bit, was that content creation in League was already dying pre-COVID. In the year pre-COVID, it started to die, but then we all got semi-duped because COVID hits and the numbers went up again. Just because of COVID, by the way. Like, it was hard at the time to know, like,
everyone
how
was
much
inside,
was
so they
COVID.
may as well watch something.
Exactly. It was hard to know how much was COVID and how much was, like, a resurgence or, like, whatever. So then you've got this, like, extended period where you think everything's kind of fine again. And then as soon as, like, the lockdowns stop on, like, a sort of a large scale, the numbers, like, go from a plateau into an instant decline, but, like, a slowish decline. And it's just, like, been going there ever since. So we actually had, like, a 2-year band-aid where we didn't even realize, like, the direction that it was going in. And then that, I think, gave some false positivity as well, like, looking further forward, that we're now sort of, like, yeah, seeing, well, yeah, as you say, like, I think, like, full-time content creation in League, or, like, League alone, is, like, not sustainable. Like, I mean Travis all the time, because I think that this guy did actually have, like, the fucking golden goose egg, and he completely fucks it. He had so many chances to expand, but he was just, in my opinion, lazy. Like, he was so comfortable just covering LCS, and his entire career basically was tied to the success and viewership level of LCS, and he could have expanded into at least LEC at any point that he wanted. He could have started covering, like, the East, sorry. He could have started covering other esports, like, easily. He had so much leash, and he just never even tried. So that annoyed me, because I think he squandered something massive with such a big head start. But ultimately, one thing obviously I have to agree with Travis on is he reached a point where it just wasn't sustainable for him anymore, regardless of, like, you know, whether or not he squandered an opportunity that it would still be sustainable. Just covering League at that point was not sustainable for him anymore. And that was the biggest interviewer in the history of this esport. And it just fluttered out into nothingness, essentially. So yeah, it is rough out there. But yeah, as Jake said, the problem is now, like, it's the
But by the way, just one thing on this too, because we've got all of these legacy people leaving, that makes it even more important to support the ones which are actually doing good work now. It's, like, more important now.
Send me
than
money
ever, so.
right now. All of you, send me money. I'll put my bank details in the description. Just send me anything
He meant
you
me.
can spare.
He meant me,
No,
dude.
fuck you.
Not you,
no,
dude.
no. This is my moment. All right. Anything you can spare. I know Christmas is coming up. Put aside what you need. Everything else, literally send me
Dude,
your
like,
money.
we get it. You live in an aquarium. Like, it's okay. Like,
Exactly. Like, downgrade. It is rough under here, under the waves. Right. Anyway,
under the sea. You don't want to do a little rendition of that.
I'm all right for now, but maybe I'll put it on TikTok.
Do you remember when TB
next
Skyen
diary.
used to do the Disney covers to, like, League parodies? That was a good time.
Can I just share, like, a thing that happened earlier? Like, I feel like I'm going insane. I wanted to mention it a few times, where, like, we would just give you an insight of how my mind works. Like, when we were talking about Oasis doing the World Finals gig, like, I just in my head imagined, like, a drunk, like, a karaoke place, just like Keire, I Will Dominate, and Faker, just like drunk singing Wonderwall. But it's like Faker
Funny
was.
enough, I actually, a while ago, I wrote an Oasis parody
no, not funny
called
enough.
Weaver's
You,
Wall.
you did not go to a karaoke place with Faker. Like, there's no funny enough to that. Like, you sound like you're about to just go, yeah, funny enough, yeah, me and Faker.
I was
me and Faker
no. My
told-
point was that I've made a parody song called Weaver's Wall of Wonderwall. You fuck. Let me have my point.
My bad, bro. My bad.
During his drive down Cornwall. But sorry, you were in a karaoke bar with Faker.
Yeah, no, I just
imagine.
imagine Faker, Keire, and I Will Dominate, but like Faker was singing Weaver's Wall. Hey, don't come on, give me a smile. He was singing Weaver's Wall.
Okay, you got
And
1
then-
point back there. Lost 5.
And then,
got 1
I'm
point
sorry,
back.
it's my bad, bro. And then at one point Faker was going like, maybe you're gonna be the one that you know, Keire knows what I'm gonna say already. Keire gets it already. Keire, let me finish it, you bastard. Say, maybe you're gonna be the one that shaves me.
For those that don't know, both Keire and I Will Dominate are due. Actually, I think Dom already did his.
You did on stream, yeah.
Keire, being the vain motherfucker that he is saying he's waiting until after the Esports Awards before shaving his head. What a fucking... Doesn't that kind of, like, defeat the purpose? Shouldn't it just be, like, an on-the-spot thing? Like,
No, actually, to defend Keire here, I think his idea is he wants to do it, like, with like members of the community there and like doing it,
Oh,
like cheering.
okay. No, fair enough. Fair
quite
enough.
It's because I believe League Awards is happening after the Red Bull League of its own in Munich. So they have like an actual like proper venue and stuff. So they're gonna make a show out of it, which I think actually
Okay,
makes a lot of sense.
that's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, but I had to do that shamey thing for Keire. Like, I just knew he'd love it. Like, just knew he'd love it.
I knew that line was coming, and the closer we got to it, the worse it got.
Anyway,
yeah.
The last thing I want to run by you guys after I ask you all for your favorite moment of the year. So best will be racking your brains over what that might be. Obviously, is this? Let me rephrase. There's a rumor that in certain leagues, maybe all leagues, I've really fucked this up. I'm gonna have to edit this. Anyway, that coaches may be allowed to communicate with their teams in game.
Sheep Esports published an article saying that there was like an internal email about it, so that is actually something which has been reported.
No edit required. Okay, so anyway, So what are your guys' thoughts on this conceptually? Just very quickly, I think it's really stupid because first and foremost, like I think this will just something else that I actually think is really dumb is like with big changes or such like overarching changes like this or like Fearless or whatever, it massively changes the kinds of players that you should be targeting in the off season if you're a competent GM. If I am now told like your coach is going to be able to talk to people in game, is that just for this season? Is that going forward indefinitely? Like, should this guy be signing a 3-year contract to 5? Because otherwise, I'm just signing 5 dudes with insane hands and no fucking brain, and I'm just focusing everything on getting the best possible coach.
It changes team building.
Yeah, like it should, whether it will or not. Like whether people in the LEC actually have the lights turned on.
I think counterpoint. I actually don't think it would change team building at all.
Okay, care to elaborate? Or are we going?
Yeah, because it's like.
Imagine he says no. I'll leave it there.
It's like great. You can sign 5 players with like. I just don't think that really exists. It's like we're gonna sign 5 players with great hands. It's like how many players do you see like in the West that have great hands but like no brains? It kind of doesn't really exist. Nako is maybe one of them, but like his brains like it's like great, but like it's like you're still gonna have like if you're just making the job harder in some ways anyway. It's like great. The coach can come in and be like, "Yo, monkeys, play the game." But it's like you got monkeys. You didn't get humans. So it's like the job is way less efficient. It's like the coach comes in, is like, "Yo, guys, Alpha Charlie 2-2, form in the 1-3-1 formation. Like let's keep it going, boys." There's just not much is gonna go on. Like it's just like how much is it gonna help? You're gonna like massively encumber yourself with like the delta and the journey of what coaching is, which is like getting teams, you know, on the same page about concepts and stuff like this. It's like they're still going to be like stupid outside a game or like less smart. So it's like, yeah.
I counter. I don't really agree for 2 reasons. One, I actually do think historically there are a whole bunch of players who passed the hands test and then the millisecond they were put in a position where they actually had to think failed. Like people like Pride Stalker, people like Leader. Like these were like people like, if you can even remember this far back, like Armin. If got anyone who remembers Armin, the up and coming like season 3 onwards. Like these kinds of players, even Ku to a certain extent, by the way, also falls into this category. Like very mechanically gifted, not like complete absolute morons, well, outside of Armin, but you know, like not brain children, let's put it that way. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is I've actually literally seen Prolly, who was, I personally think, a very smart communicator in the League of Legends space, do exactly this in scrims, just because he wanted to try out something like specifically. So he shot called an entire game from a coaching chair, and it was like unstoppable.
Just one very quick
completely
point,
unstoppable. Like no one could do anything against it, by the way. Like yeah, we had good players and smart players. Like Otto's a smart player, Jankos is historically a very smart player, but when they had that burden, like other top LEC teams.
Oh, fair.
In scrims. Like, they did this for 2 scrim blocks, and they just, like, smashed everyone. Teams that they were losing to in scrims, like G2 and stuff, just smashing them, and probably was, like, shot calling everything. And their burden was just completely lifted. They just played the game, and it was just, like, complete.
It sounds like you should have just signed Prolly, like just put him back on mid lane then.
Hey, I mean,
Keire.
get Broken Shell back, bring the band together. I don't know. I mean,
Don't do that.
but yeah, it's I think that obviously there's a spectrum, and I was being like quite hyperbolic with it. Like, you're not just going to sign handless morons, but I do think that like feel for the game is going to matter so much less. And if you've got like, I don't know, some like jungle savant or something as your head coach, like I think that would make like a massive difference if you can like.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we actually do agree. I think it's more a thing where I don't think it would completely restructure team building, but I think it would. Yeah, you're right.
It changes who you're looking in terms of
communicate.
communicate. I don't even think it's about the brain. I think it's about communicators. Like, there's a bunch of. I mean, for instance, Europe's had a problem where every support is quiet except like. There aren't that many loud supports. I think it's way more about comms, because the coach can then basically just directly comm to people and coordinate while not having to focus on lane and stuff. I think that's the biggest thing, particularly in Europe. Like, I think comms are one of the biggest problems that we have. In terms of overall team stuff. I think, in fact, a lot of the time you pick players based on how they communicate in game. Is that suddenly less or more of a factor? Do people who are already good communicators, does that change based on having an extra voice in call? Does that actually become disruptive? Because coaches are going to have to learn how to communicate in game as well, in the heat of the moment. Do they do that normally? Obviously, no. That's going to be another skill set which they have to develop as well. Yeah, you are changing the whole flow of communications between player and coach, because you're putting them into a situation that neither has experienced in a competitive, high-pressure environment before. So I think it does genuinely change the way that you think about not just mechanics and the way they think about the game, but massively also how do they deal with a changing communication style, which is already a problem in some pro teams.
Yeah. What do you think, Keire? Are you in favour,
So,
against, thoughts?
about like Fearless. I think it's okay. I've actually said this idea before. I would love a tournament where the entire tournament the coach can just control people. That's the tournament, right? We do it like if we have an open circuit, like we would ideally it would be once a year, okay? But because we're not got an open, like what I don't think it should be as an important a tournament as that. It's because there's so few internationals. I would not trade an international, right, for a novel tournament like that, right? So that's the problem. So maybe once every 2 years this like tournament comes around. I think it'd be really good. I think it'd be so sick to see some of the coaches put their money and actually have some skin in the game. Like, I think it would be really, 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 really
True,
cool.
actually, ultimate fraud watch, like on full display. Yeah.
Yeah, like and all the coaches, like, and by the way, you can opt out as a coach. And I think that'd be cool as well. Like, the players just like you opt out and your team just plays without you. That'd be hilarious. Imagine like the coach that's talking, the players like team just like absolutely destroys them, and they're like.
It's also worth noting that the apparent changes. I think the way that I saw it was you get 3 45-second chances to speak in game. I don't think anyone mentioned that there was a that's one thing. This was something in the Sheep Esports article as well. That's the only thing which I've seen on it. I don't know, because then you have to cut in 2 comms mid game. I presume there wouldn't be a pause associated with this. I think the worst case scenario for me personally is there's a pause associated with it. So I think it has to just happen live in game, because I don't think
I was imagining being G2 and you're like trying to play, and so you got Dylan Falco over the tannoy like fucking Zordon, just being like, "Hey guys, like I just remember like when we played in scrims, like just like how like is this not? It's entirely dependent on like who you would want to hear from as well.
How
right?
how does this even work though? Because coaches watch the game.
We haven't had details
without Fog of War. So it'd be more like, hey, Labrov, there's a Rengar behind you, by the way. Like,
nah, do coaches see the game live?
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
They see the whole game live with full vision.
Basically, you'll have to have a completely different setup in studio to have them. You'd need to have coaches basically under the same protocols that players are under, where they have.
Isn't that just like a massive nerf because they can't review game to game then?
That would also be something that you'd have to consider as well. But unless you have 2 coaches, one which is allowed to be on comms, one which isn't on comms, but then they can't talk to each other mid game, so you'd have to have one which is effectively
like complete chuckle vision. Like, it's just what's the fun idea this week? Like,
but then you basically have to go through the same security protocols that players go through, right? Because they have to you have to not have mobile devices on you, any kind of communication device like that. The whatever the chess player, which had the allegations of that. Yeah, you need to have a very different setup in studio. It's not just on stage. And
I could never be a coach. I'd just be like, it's just for pleasure. Like, I'm not cheating. I need this.
Oh, stranger things that happen in Berlin, you know.
True,
I just feel like I was at Kit Kat last night. Like, I just forgot to take them out. Like, what was I going to say? It's like, this is another thing as well. It's just like what Keire is saying with the fearless thing as well. It's just like, to me, I have problems with like plans. It's like, has anyone, maybe there's an answer for this. Maybe you boys will know this. You know how like LR is getting added to LEC, and like one of the things is like one of the qualifying rules was like you have to be the best team over the course of the year.
Yeah.
So like, but like,
so what made that up for
whatever.
I did
They clearly
wonder.
made that up. In any case, this thing about is like, is there a logical explanation for this? So
No.
if no, of course, let me finish, moron.
I'm joking.
So next year, presumably, they probably won't, but they say they do the same thing. If LR is the best team this year, and that's why they qualified, and they don't play in the winter split next year, do they not then forfeit one of the splits by which they would have to requalify?
Here's what they'll do, though. Right? Are you ready?
What will
they'll
they
be
do?
like, oh,
That's a big hole, right?
yeah,
like,
sure, but they'll be like, oh, the thing is, LR won one round in the LEC thing, and that one round, because it's against better opposition in theory, is worth X amount of points.
They can't do that.
Yeah,
They
well,
can't do that.
they're not going to risk not having LR the next year. Like, that's not going to happen. I mean, realistically, I actually think that by some way, some hook or by crook, they will just be fully in the LEC by the year after, regardless. So it probably won't matter.
I feel like, not to add an additional topic, I just want to give this a sideway, because I've been thinking about this and this is insane. If they get to LEC, and it's like a thing where, I think the one thing that, because people have been talking about like Kamel, I don't know why I've called him Kamel, like we're mates, Kameto, Kamel, so that's Nymaera's death clip, sorry, that's the zoomer in me. Kameto and Ibai, they've had to like get to LEC by like selling off shares and like having employees and like just basically like carving up your kid, like, and especially with the news with the KC thing about like I don't know if you guys read this article about like this crazy fucking like
feud, yeah.
whatever. Let's not get into that. But like, it's like you've had to like carve up your things. It's like there's a world in which like LR might make into LEC without having to sell like any shares off, and they've got like 4 employees.
Yeah.
And like, to me, that's like the biggest piss take of all of it. Like, it's
Good, no lie. Because fuck them. Anyone involved in segregated franchise leagues and League of Legends, I actually just wish.
oh, here we go. Rich, move us on.
Honestly, everyone.
Pull the carriage away, quick! Victor Frankenstein's in the back. Pull us away. We've got to get to Chernobyl. Get us away. We've got to get to the Arctic Circle.
Honestly, they have done more harm, right? Okay, to like the Riot and the segregated leagues and the franchise leagues have done so much harm, like to like player mobility, like player like choice. Would you call it like player like freedom? It's like I don't want Los Ratones in. I do agree it's like a piss take and all that. Everyone that like bought into like the franchise and league, just watching it happen to them, there is like a karmatic.
You see them as more of like a plague, like they're
yeah, they're not. No, they are. Like
they're like a pestilence to like punish people.
The rat plague is like coming in. It's the Black Death of like Europe
honestly,
wasn't
like,
actually. On you go.
I just don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care. I think if you at the moment in time in which, obviously, fundamentally, it's really unfair, right? Like, obviously, I'll never argue to the contrary. But at the time at which Ibai and Kameto got involved in LEC, like, you're just fucking morons at that point. Like, what did you want? Oh, you wanted return on investment? Good joke, buddy. You wanted a viable business model? Hee hee ha ha ha. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here?
I don't think that's
like,
fair.
Franchise,
I don't think that's nice.
But what do you mean? Like, if I come to you with some bullshit pyramid scheme, Jake, and you're like, you know what? That sounds fucking brilliant. And
But you not think to an extent it's like a thing. You don't think it's an extent where it's like, in fairness, you feel that way and you're justified, but it's like you have the knowledge because it's like you went through it and you're like, oh, this is fucking shit. For them, yes, they bought into the same thing, but it's like where like you have a dream and you want to make your team into the biggest thing.
Yeah, but sometimes
so it's like
your dream is bullshit, though. That's the thing. It's like I could dream for like, but I could have a dream to like fully realize Stalin's version of communism in the West. But that's a dog shit dream.
I'd always the most insane thing.
You got to dream a little though. Like you made it to a world semi.
Yeah, but
like you were there before the dream became shit. You know,
yeah,
it's like
course.
now.
No, but the
now
thing is,
dream
it was still shit back then. Like it was still shit. Like it wasn't profitable. It was still dog shit. But because of exit payments, we managed to actually like break even. But we knew like. I don't want to sound like we were fucking Nostradamus or something like all the way through, but we did see the forest through the trees, knew where it was going, and gave Riot like unbelievably, in their eyes, unreasonable terms of what it would take for us to stay. And then when they're like, nah, you know what, realistically, that's not going to happen, we were probably never going to sign a contract that said anything less than that because we knew it was cooked. Like, they had the exact same clarity. In fact, way more. They had years and years of evidence. Ours was speculative. This had never been done before. It was the first year of franchising. And we're like, guys, this looks fucking dog shit. This looks so bad for teams. And they've had however many years since then to make that assessment with all the extra evidence and the failed businesses that came before them, with investor carousel, with teams in, ownerships out, etc. And they still opted in. So I'm not going to be sat here like, you know what? The poet in me says they dared to dream. It's like, no, you made
that's the difference between us, you know?
They made a dog shit business decision with all the evidence in the world. This is even worse than like a speculative like altcoin, because at that point, the altcoin hasn't yet failed. I might have red pilled you or black pilled you or whatever pilled you on like the utility of my coin and convinced you it's a real thing. But then you get fucked as soon as that thing goes live, right? And then
it's like when
BG.
It's like when Griffith started like sleeping with like fat old men to like get more troops for the Midland Army.
Almost identical, I would say. Almost identical. But no,
obviously Griffith went on to do horrible things, but like he was just
great things. He went on to do great.
You don't want to say that. You don't want. I don't think you want to die on that hill.
Anyway,
move on, Dick. Move on.
Look, I think that, you know, they're probably by and large nice people. So I don't like when bad things happen to nice people. But in terms of like being sort of intellectually consistent, ultimately they just made stupid decisions and they're paying for it now. And it's like, I can only be so sympathetic, right? Like, it is what it is.
I know you're right.
But regardless, like, if Keire gets in, it's a joke. Like, if he doesn't have to pay anything and he gets in, regardless of the bad decisions made before him by other people, like, it's still not fair. So, hopefully that doesn't happen. Anyway, before we let you lovely people leave, I want to ask you, starting with you, Nymaera, favorite esport related moment of the year? Maybe
esports moment related. Oh,
yeah.
You said it at the top of the show, surely.
I mean, yeah, for me, it was being able to co-stream Worlds with like a bunch of people, which I've looked up for years. You know, I've been around in esports for, you know, a couple of years now at this point. I wouldn't say I'm a fresh face, but I was really inspired by the likes of Monty and Doa, Quickshot as well. Being able to do content with them, to have just chat shit with them in a fairly cool social setting is very cool too.
Are you going to make a video out of that, by the way? I'll probably
I mean, I'll probably Yeah, I'm gonna cut out the parts which people turned up to. Yeah, that was really, really cool. There was a bunch of very cool stuff with that. Because it kind of capped off. It's been a strange year for me because, you know, LPL broadcast died, got back onto LEC, which was really, really cool because, you know, it's not often you get to be on a major broadcast like that. And LPL, while it was cool, was all remote, and it was kind of very hard to stand out against the global community, especially in the co-streaming era, because I only cast LPL during like the heights of co-stream, really, so it was quite hard to stand out in that way. Yeah, that's been very special. You know, I get to the point now where weirdly, like, my family run into people that know me, or people recognize me on the street in a way, which has been
that's because it's your brother, mate. It's not that surprising. He's also in the industry, you know.
No, it's actually my cousin who has like nothing to do with esports, which was kind of crazy. Yeah, so capping off a year where I've spent over 1,000 hours streaming LPL, trying to cover a region which doesn't have an official broadcast anymore. I believe I've cast more tier 1 League of Legends than anyone else in the world in the last 3 years, because I think I've cast maybe 1.5 thousand games, maybe, I'm not sure, something around that in the last 3 years, which is not healthy mentally, I gotta tell you. So it's kind of like have these moments where actually it feels like I get to have this connection with industry professionals, which I very much respect on a professional level. It's very, very cool. Yeah, I think the finals co-stream kind of capping off a year which I put so much effort into was really cool.
Fair enough. Makes sense. What about you, Jake? What was your biggest highlight? Homelessness?
I had like a really shit year. Like, if I'm being honest. Like, actually, I don't know if people saw on Twitter last night. Like, I went to the Fnatic like in zone party, which is like a Valorant thing where they like launched their new Valorant player. I didn't go for that because I don't give a fuck about Valorant. But I turned up when the after party started, and I don't know if people follow me for a while, they know that I've like been like relentlessly like trolling Sam Matthews on Twitter for like maybe the best part of 2 years now. And like he's only started replying to me recently. I sound like Stan from the Eminem video now, but he started like replying to me recently. So he's been biting a little bit on the bait because it's been going for a while. But then I finally I've like got my dream last night. Like I saw him DJ, and like for those who don't know, like the fantasy of Sam Matthews to me is that like he's like this like. He's not really an anachronism for esports, but he's like more just like he represents so much of like the joie de vivre or whatever the phrase is for like he's like such a caricature for like the oncoming like 2000s wave of like digital enterprise and esports. Like I'm sure Rich has met like 1,000 people like him in that era that don't exist anymore. So he's like a relic of the past. He's like the Viceland. He's like a Viceland relic to me. Yeah. He's like a Shoreditch rooftop bar gaming and gaming enterprise like Viceland like relic of the past. And like to see him in like it's like having a dinosaur like in front of you, like it's like, but not in a way of like he's old, but more just like you shouldn't exist anymore, but you do. And it's like you just kind of have to like take in the light. And so I DJ'd a bit with him. We went back to back. He's actually like, for what it's worth, very good DJ, by the way. Like very good. Like he's using like fucking fade out filters. Like he knows what he's doing. Like I consider myself a good judge of that. He was very good in that regard. And yeah, I don't know. We just went on the piss, bro. Like I got in a cab with him. We went to a bar in Shoreditch. Of course, where else could we have gone? And yeah, we just he bought me a few drinks. What a guy, man! He's just even more ridiculous in real life than I could have ever imagined.
On my favorite,
he started like.
Was it? Go on.
He like challenged me to a rap battle in the middle of the bar, and I rap battled Sam Matthews. What? And like he thinks that he's like a garage MC. So he's like does it like he turns into an American and he goes like biddy bop to the sound, the S to the A to the M. I'm the fanatic. I'm gonna cause a panic. Like it was just so good. Like he actually thinks he's like a garage MC. He's just like it was everything I could have wanted and more.
But I've told this.
And sorry. Yeah. And I took a photo with him and I posted on Twitter and I said me and Sam Matthews are gonna save this terrible org, and he retweeted that. Which is like, which is like the best, like
this is a great way to soft launch your Fnatic GMing career. Which
I'm never gonna like have like my whole thing is like being like a satirist or a troll. Nothing's gonna beat that. Like that's the peak for me, and it happened last night. Yeah. Sorry, share your Sam story.
I've told this story before, like I think on numerous podcasts at this point, but like. Because the thing is, similarly, I had this idea of Sam Matthews in my head, but I always assumed like it's not going to be quite like reality. It's going to be, I've kind of gone too deep, expect too much. You know, it's going to be a watered down version of my headcanon. But I was in Hamburg, right? There's this really famous street in Hamburg where like all the bars and clubs are. It's actually a really cool street because it's like very vertical. It's like half a mile long or even longer. But you go into a building and there's like 4 bars or clubs like in that building, like going up vertically. It's this really weird place. And anyway, there was cool. Fnatic used to be repped by the sports agency called Lagardère, and they were doing a party there. And we went to this party, and halfway through the night, like the music stopped. It was like a movie moment. And Sam Matthews just starts walking in, and he's clearly like off his face. I'd be amazed at this point if he even remembers this. He's like clearly off his face. He's got a girl, right, on both arms. Definitely hookers, like for sure, definitely hookers. And he's just like walking in like slow motion, or what felt like slow motion at least, towards the DJ table. And I'm looking between him and the DJ. I'm like, but there's already a DJ at the DJ table.
Like a scene from Zoolander.
Yeah, I'm like, there's already a DJ at the DJ table. So what's happening? And he just keeps walking, and he gets closer and closer. I'm like, well, the fucking irrepressible Sam Matthews is about to hit the immovable wall that is this DJ who's mid-song. But no. Sam just keeps going, and basically, I can't hear what they're saying, but he basically tells the DJ to fuck off and do one. The music stops for about 3 minutes, and then he randomly just starts DJing like ABBA or some shit. I'm like, what is going on? And these poor two.
What year was this? What year was this in?
It was when LEC finals were in Hamburg. I want to say 2017. We must have had like a decent team as well because I was at finals attending it. Like
I want to let you know that 8 years later he still does the same thing because the same thing happened last night. so history repeats itself. He saw me when we said to each other. I joked to him because I bought my USB to the event, and I said to him, "Sam, when are we going back to back?" He said, "Let's do it right now." And then the person there that's like in charge of like events for him was just like, she's a French lady. She's just like, "Sam, I've already booked a DJ. Sam, I'm not going to be the one to tell him that you want to DJ. You have to tell him." And then Sam just walked over there, took his USB out, and was like, "We're DJing now." So he did the exact same thing 8 years later. Sam Matthews, I love you. And also, I don't associate with these speculative comments about hookers, Sam. I don't want you to get, because obviously I'm going to be working with Sam now. I work at Fnatic now, so I don't.
Wait,
I'm the new GM.
Yeah,
we signed it. We signed it. We signed it on a
tweet. Yeah, soft launch.
We signed it on a napkin last night in a bar.
It's done. It's dart out. Dart out.
Dart out.
Yeah.
It was the most special night because I was just there. Like, I think they were all so drunk that they found me funny. I was just like, "We need to get rid of Dardo, that bald Spanish prick." And like, none of them knew what to do. Like, I was just talking to all the Fnatic people. None of them knew what to do because they were just like, "What do we do with him?" Because they were all saying to me, they were just like, all the people there were just like, "You're the same in real life as you are on Twitter." Like, they didn't know how to contain me. They were just like, "He's just live tweeting at us in person." Like,
gotta let him go. So that's obviously Jake's favorite moment of the year. What's yours, Keire?
Oh, esports moment of the year.
Sure.
Yeah.
Go out a league if you want.
Sounds like you've got a real life moment.
Yeah, not what you did at the weekend, preferably, unless it's esports related.
No, I had a pretty chilled out weekend.
That's a lie.
But yeah, it was chilled out. It was really chill. I basically just played Europa. So let me think. Best esports moment of the year. League moment.
You can always just say being on this amazing podcast, Keire. You know that's
Peanut. I know. I see the time. So Peanut's exit was pretty special. You know what I mean? I know he didn't get it done, but like that, I did have that moment. It's actually, I think it's my pinned tweet. And I'm starting to have that feeling in like StarCraft Brood War. Yeah, it is. Where it's like you start questioning the current narratives. Not saying that League's dying, but it's like when we were watching Brood War, there was all these things of like, was Julyzer going to win like another OSL? You know what I mean? Like the other older players are getting like bad now. They're like kind of like sympathetically bad. Peanut wasn't quite there, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like who right now actually like talks about like Mac Noon? You know what I mean? Mac Noon in season 4 was a top 5 top player of all time, right? Mac Noon's now like whatever, and that's kind of sad to me. You know what I mean? Like it's sad. And does League go on for another 15 years, and that's what Peanut is? Like, do we all remember Peanut like from here? Like, I hope we do. Like, Peanut's like a really special like player. So I think Peanut. That's going to sound really weird to me, but like that was like a moment that like hit me like right in the chest. It's like that full thing. One day, Faker will not be good. Like he will just retire, or like Chovy will eventually start declining. Like Knight will just eventually like give up. Like the career will go into the decline. So enjoy like the things that you have like right now. Like Peanut gave us what, like how many 12 years he's. Was it 12 years? No, 11 years that he played for.
He started in 2015, so yeah.
Yeah. Peanut gave like 11 years of his life to this, so I was really.
By the way,
I wanted to see him get it, but it was nice.
By the way, unironically, I genuinely think like one of Kira's like best ever moments on this show, like legit, all jokes aside, was when you did like that appeal to Larson about how everything is like finite and like not to take your career for granted or whatever, because that has aged like so unbelievably well as like a message for any player who is like of that sort of elite tier in their own region or worldwide or whatever. That the moments are so fucking.
Yeah, he's coming to Ruddy now. Look what's fucking happened to him. He's playing on Ruddy next split.
So
is he actually?
Yeah.
Holy shit! Well,
I'm the Fnatic GMing.
When does this come out?
Tomorrow.
Fucking hell. Wow.
Uh,
Might have to edit that out then.
but yeah, like.
By the way, the other take which I love of yours, Keire, is the know thyself one, because that's evolved beyond itself. There was a fucking hilarious comment in chat one time, which was something like talking about, doing top player lists just doesn't make sense, because at the end of the day, someone's going to turn up on the day of the game and they're going to eat 2 bananas instead of 1, and they're going to play like shit. And then someone else replied to them saying like, but that's part of being the best player. Knowing thyself and knowing that the second banana is a sin is the second banana diff. That just sent me.
That's true.
That was good.
True.
But
No, well, I was going to end the show. So if you've got anything to say, then say it now. Otherwise, me going back to you would be a bit weird. So yeah, anyway, that is going to be it this week, guys. Because yes, we will still be doing EuroLeague. Because obviously, we're going straight back in to LEC off-season. Already, so many crazy things have happened. And yes, I do mean crazy. I'm not just saying that for insert random clickbaity word here. Like literally bonkers moves have already occurred, so we will be covering that because teams are already going to be boot camping in like 2 weeks, some of them in Berlin. So yeah, it never stops, I suppose, until it does, because maybe league is really #dying. Who knows? Not for me to decide. I just look at the numbers and make completely logical conclusions.
Injecting some poison into the challenge.
Just a little bit more every day, but not the kind which makes you immune. Just slow death. Anyway, on that wonderful note, thank you guys all for watching, and we'll see you next time.